Welcome to episode 18 of 22 Man Game with Jared and Dame. I'm Jared. That's Dame Un. It is 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. The Thanksgiving games and I guess the holiday only 2 days away. Damon, how are you doing on Thanksgiving Eve?
I feel glorious because today was my last day of work for the week. Bingo,
Woo!
bango, bongo. That feels nice. So I will be looking forward to doing absolutely nothing all week. Perhaps meeting up with a fellow mutual friend of ours, X. Shout out X. Shout out Peyton Manning, episode 18. How are you, Jared?
I'm good. I miss X. I need to cross paths with X, but I will be flying home tomorrow morning. So we actually just decided to talk about two games, and then just kind of skip the rest of the games and get out of here in about a tight 15. That is a joke.
Mm.
But excited to go home, spend time with my dad, my mom, my brother, that kind of thing. And been getting the house ready. I've been washing all the dishes, getting packed. So uh happy about that, excited for that. Those of you listening, Damon is transforming the atmosphere of the visual space by adjusting the brightness of the light, so he does not look like the Jolly Green Damon for the majority of the pod, looking nice and normal currently. So
Excellent.
no
I'm
need to
not
follow my
jolly nor
mom.
green. And I have a
Mm.
new on-air sign that's lighting up the space, and it keeps making me green. And we spent 30 minutes doing it before the show, and then immediately made me green. And I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. This is something to monitor for the rest of the episode. If you hear us start to yell, I would say pull over and check the screen, see if Damon has turned green. I am curious, do you have any like growing up Thanksgiving traditions that stick out to you as part of your process of the day?
What a great question. Growing up, I was pretty much the youngest of my age group. So I
Hmm.
have sibling or not siblings, cousins that are all older than me, basically by 5 to 10 years. And we would have kind of the let's go outside and throw the football around kind of deal.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, that was kind of a part of the Thanksgiving tradition for sure. There had to be an argument or two. There had to be a family member that was way too not sober or two.
Mm.
And those things kind of always played into the holidays for me. And honestly, since you asked, part of the reason that I would consider myself a Lions fan, albeit much more casual than yourself in comparison, a true diehard over there, is that this is of course a team that always plays on Thanksgiving, and I would watch them with my family growing up, and my mom being from Michigan would of course root for them. So I was like, okay, I guess I will root for them too. But I was not always a Lions fan. Like, yes, I love the Lions. I was just like, sure, mom. And then there was a period in my life in college where I didn't really pay attention much to sports. And when I got back into it post college, that's when I was like, who should be my favorite team? I guess I'll go with my mom's team, the Lions, because I watch them on Thanksgiving.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's kind of cool that the Lions have sort of a national association with this holiday, right? The Lions always play, and especially as a team that for a long time has not been relevant. It's nice to at least have one occasion where we associate the Lions with Thanksgiving, even if for many years that meant losing. And I was reading today, I hadn't even realized last year was the first year Dan Campbell had won on Thanksgiving. So
Mm.
uh, big game that we'll preview coming up. That one's definitely going to be worth some discussion there. Could alter the shape of the division and the NFC playoff race. But
What about
are you
you? What
are
about you,
you?
Mr. Jared? Tell me about your Thanksgiving traditions.
Well, I feel like we'd have the parade on, and I'm honestly trying to remember because it was either Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving where we would put up the Christmas tree and like put ornaments on it and the lights and everything. I
Hmm.
feel like that had to be the day after because if a parent is trying to prepare Thanksgiving dinner and do like the pseudo Christmas in the
Right.
morning, that would be just a nightmare of all nightmares.
Right.
So, my mom always makes turkey. In more recent years, I've kind of been with my dad on Wednesday, and then in the morning, like I'll watch the game with him, and then go down. to my mom's house afterwards, and that's kind of the shape it looks like things are taking again this year. So I'll get to kind of hang out with both groups. My stepmom kind of does like a Thanksgiving dinner as well. We'll probably do that on Wednesday, so kind of back to back on the tryptophan train. And yeah, I mean, I think honestly, Thanksgiving is, especially because of the connection to the Lions and just the fact that, like, yes, Christmas itself was very exciting, but we would never have extended family for Thanksgiving. It would always just kind of be like a small family thing. Makes it a little bit higher on the sort of sentimentality totem pole than maybe Christmas itself. So, nice to be going home for that, especially because I won't be
Interesting.
home for the holidays. So,
I think mine was the opposite. I think Thanksgiving was usually bigger than Christmas. I think Christmas was like, because being from Galveston, listener doesn't know Galveston, small island, South Texas, south of Houston. Um, Basically, Thanksgiving, my aunt used to be the host when I was a kid, and then as I got older, my mom kind of became the host. So I became the host house of Thanksgiving, which was always kind of interesting because I couldn't leave. So
yeah, you were
I'm there
stuck
for
in
the
the
whole
middle.
thing. And
Yeah.
then for Christmas, we would kind of do our own thing in the morning and then traverse the island to other members' houses and kind of
Mm.
do little like drop bys, hang out for a little bit, go to the next person, aunts, uncles, grandparents, so forth. Um, so that's interesting. Also, I should mention something that I have to. My mom would always try to turn off the football game to put on the dog show. Absurd, absurd
Hey, fun
behavior.
fact, that is miserable to me. And no thanks. Uh, I will say part of I think why we had such isolated holidays, and in general, like the idea of big family gathering is very alien to me. We're kind of the only offshoot of our family that's lived in Texas. We live where I grew up. So like,
Hmm.
most of my family's up in Michigan. My maternal grandparents would fly in for Christmas every year, but they live in Arizona, or they lived in Arizona for my childhood, and so like it was just us out in 10 IC. So just not really a lot of reason to we're not flying up to Michigan for that. Sorry. And I honestly it's just interesting because as I now intersect with people who have large family gatherings that I sometimes get drawn into, right? Just kind of an interesting change in focus, but I think both ways are valid. It's just what you grew up with. So, um no, but Christmas
Yeah,
morning is like sacred territory for sure.
that's why I don't.
What
That's why I'm not doing anything this Thanksgiving because I'm gonna be there in a month for the winter holidays. So it's like I don't want to go there now and then also go there. One parent household, so I don't have the double battle that you have to deal with where you have to and you're in a relationship, so you got to see two families as well. So I got
right.
one person I got to see, and I'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it
yeah.
at one time.
No, I've traditionally gone up for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and this is the first year where I'm kind of splitting.
Hmm.
And then the thought was maybe I'd like go up in January, but honestly, as I evaluate, I may just like both of my parents visited me in Austin at certain points earlier in the year, and then I'm seeing them for Thanksgiving, and that might be good. That might be
Yeah,
good
yeah, we've
for
hit our quota.
yeah. I I love my parents and am fortunate that typically we have things that we enjoy in common. My dad got me into Attack on Titan, right? So like there's always stuff to do and stuff in common and that kind of thing. But um I also think I'm at a point in my life where like I could go visit friends, right? I could stay here and use spring break to do something with the people I've met in Austin, right? Like there's just options. So
Right.
uh, all that to say, I love talking Thanksgiving tradition, but football is one of those traditions, and so I think we should dive into our news here and get the ball rolling.
Get the ball rolling with some tragedy, as we seem to do at the start of every week.
I
Just get it
forgot
out the
this was at
way.
the top.
Just
Yeah.
get it out the way. So, it was reported a UAB, that is a university in the state of Alabama, but not the University of Alabama. Player stabbed two of his teammates at their football facility prior to their last home game of the season against South Florida. That was this past Saturday. Um, both victims are in stable condition. That's nice to hear. So it doesn't sound like there will be any sort of, life-threatening thing, anything like that. The player that did the stabbing, of course, arrested. and then several players decided to sit out the game due to the incident. So they still played after this happened. And I kind of read into it a little bit. Apparently, the coach kind of, I guess, was the spokesperson of the front office peeps, and he basically said like it's the last home game of the season. Their senior night is kind of what they do for that. They don't want to take that away from them. So I get it. But I also understand why players would want to sit out after such a tragic event.
Yeah, I was there any information on whether this happened like in front of other players, or was this something that happened like in a private setting? Because I feel like that would also be a
That I
substantive.
did not hear, and I feel like a lot of details haven't come out because of the nature of the investigation. Even the player's name was hard to find, and I didn't put it in here because
Yeah.
it was hard to find, um, for a reason, I assume. So, yeah, I guess they haven't revealed the nitty-gritty details just yet.
Yeah, I think giving players the options the best way to go about it, because it's true, like you don't want to take away what's meant to be for many of these players like a meaningful occasion. I feel like UAB, well, actually, is there anything more you'd like to say about this before I go on a tangent about UAB? I'm gonna filter
No, go ahead.
myself until I believe they like lost and then had to regain their football team. Like I think they lost funding for their team at some point in like the early 2020s and then got it back, which I just think is kind of a interesting thing. I'll have to dig more into that. But this sucks, just undeniably sucks. I think the fact that the players are stable is great. The fact that it happens on game day for a game of such personal meaning to the fans, to the team, is just brutal. I respect the choice of the players who played, and I respect the choice of the players who don't, and hope they're able to recover as a football community in the wake of this, and that justice is served where appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. Um, in other stable condition news, Jets corner Chris Boyd, who we mentioned was shot last week in the abdomen, now in stable condition. He was in critical condition when we talked about it last week. Seems to be recovering well, so that is nice to see.
Yeah, yeah. Happy ending feels like a wrong term, but the fact that at the very least, those injuries are not going to take someone's life, um, is a meaningful thing. And we've seen multiple players who've suffered gunshot wounds come back to play. I don't know if that's in the cards for Chris Boyd, but you hope that there might be a path back to the field if that's what he wants to do following his recovery. Let's move on to some more positive things, shall we?
Let's.
Adam, Adam Schefter tweeted about Russell Wilson and said, quote, "The Why Not You Foundation, founded by Sierra and Russell Wilson, announced a $3 million philanthropic gift to NYC's Mount Sinai Kravis Children's Hospital, a gift that will support patients and family programs and facilities within the Kravis Children's Hospital and will ultimately name the Child Life Zone Theater and the Play Space and the Jack Martin Fund Inpatient Unit for Children's Cancer and Blood Disease." So Russell Wilson and Sierra doing an undeniably good thing.
Yeah, and they can't go wrong with donating money for children's disease research. I like tried usually when I read stuff like this, I try to like reformat it, and I was like, God, this is so wordy. I'm just gonna put the whole thing in here,
Yeah.
because I don't want to leave any part of it out because I am not sure how important each of these terms and names are. But yeah, as kind of clowned on as I think Russell Wilson can be on the field, obviously doing good things off the field, and you'll get no argument from me there.
Yeah. Undeniably classy, especially because I think he'll always be wow. Sorry, I can't drink water without coughing, I guess. He'll undeniably be a hero in Seattle, but I don't think the New York market received him very well. And so to give back to that community, regardless, I think is a show of high character, um, and is a certifiably ethical move, to quote the ethical
Our
ball,
ethical baller of the week. I
ethical baller of the week, Russell Wilson. Um,
need an air horn.
Separate, um, and then the other thing, we have a semifinalist list for the 2026 Hall of Fame class. Um, I will go through all the names briefly, and then Damon, my question to you is if you could build a class of six players based on the people on this list.
Oh. Good. It's only six, huh?
I picked it up because it's a range. I
That's
mean,
right. That's right.
if you want to look up like the biggest Hall of Fame class and use
No,
that, I
you
just
said
figure
six.
six
I'll
is
do six. You said
all
six. I'll
right.
do six.
I'm gonna go really quickly through the names on the list. Three quarterbacks: Drew Brees, Eli Manning, and Philip Rivers. Brees and Rivers are both in their first year of eligibility. Running back, Frank Gore in his first year of eligibility, and Fred Taylor. Wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald in his first year of eligibility. Also up Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, and Reggie Wayne. Tight end Jason Witten in his first year of eligibility as a semifinalist. Special teamer Adam Vinatieri, legendary kicker for the Colts and the Patriots. On the offensive line, we have Willie Anderson, Lomas Brown, Jari Evans, Richmond Webb, Steve Wisniewski, and Marshall Yonda. Defensive lineman Robert Mathis, Vince Wilfork, and Kevin Williams. Linebacker Luke Kuechly and Terrell Suggs. And defensive backs Rodney Harrison, Earl Thomas, and Darren Woodson. So, uh, pretty strong list
Yikes.
of players from that, like, 2010s and on era.
Right.
And I assume Darren Woodson isn't Charles Woodson, but I'm going to double check that because
I would also assume it's not Charles. There's no way Charles Woodson isn't in the Hall of Fame, actually. Like, that guy's
that's actually
definitely
a
in the
great
Hall of
point.
Fame.
I'll be honest, I'm really unfamiliar with Darren Woodson's game, but I see Woodson and I think, oh, he was a Cowboy from 1992 to 2003. So I guess during their Super Bowl
Mm.
era. So, uh,
Wow, this is really, really tough. Six players, you say?
the entire time you were adjusting your light, I was thinking about the answer to this question. So maybe I have a bit of a leg up, but
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I looked at the list. I put the list on here, and I didn't really think much about it. Phew. Here's where I'll start. I'll start with Adam Vinatieri because I think
nice.
he's undeniably a top two, three kicker in like NFL history.
Yeah.
So he has to be like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that he would be in the Hall of Fame, given his status and his position. I'll start there. Um, wow, this is tough, tough, tough. I will put Eli Manning there,
Wow. Yeah.
Double Super Bowl MVP. That matters. Stop the Patriots' undefeated season. Not the greatest quarterback regular season stats wise, but I think the two Super Bowls will kind of carry him over the top. This is this is hard. I'll put Drew Brees there because I actually think he's a better quarterback than Eli Manning.
Yeah.
So I feel like that makes sense to me. Doesn't have quite the same postseason success, but I think talent wise, he's definitely there. Um, Rivers not going to make my cut. I don't think either running back will make my cut. I don't think Jason Witten will make my cut. Like Jason Witten though. Respect of him. I don't think any offensive lineman will make my cut except Marshall Yonda. Marshall Yonda will get the nod from me. That guy was legendary. I knew him when I was like 9 years old, so that means he must be an insane offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Um, a guard, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for the Ravens. So I will put him there. That leaves me Breeze, Manning, Yonda, Vinatieri. That's four. Okay, I get two more. Trying to talk through my process here. There's some killer names on here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut all the DBs. I'm good there. Um, I'm gonna cut the D lineman, but I have an appreciation for Robert Mathis and for Vince Wilfork, even though he was on the Patriots and I hated the Patriots at that time. So I'm down to the linebackers, Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, and then I'm down to the receivers. That's a lot of names to just pull two names from. Luke Kuechly was so good, but I'm gonna have to give him the cut because his career was a little short. It's like 8, 9 years, short career.
Hmm.
For this Hall of Fame class, I'll have to cut him, but that guy was a monster when he was out there. Terrell Suggs has a lot of longevity. I'm not sure there, and I'm really not sure. I'm not just like talking this up. I'm like trying to do my process, but verbally because it's a
Right.
podcast. Um, when I look at receiver, if I have to narrow it down, it's tough. Obviously all legendary names. I'll cut Reggie Wayne being the secondary in Indianapolis behind Marvin Harrison Sr. for most of his career. I'll cut Steve Smith Sr. It's never that impressive to me, at least. I think I'll also cut Torrey Holt because Isaac Bruce is a name that comes to mind as that other Rams receiver in that era,
Mm.
and they were both pretty good. So that leaves me with Larry. That leaves me with Heinz Ward. That leaves me with Terrell Suggs. I've now narrowed it down to three names that I must choose two from. The first name I will choose is Larry Fitzgerald because that guy is a legend. Not the postseason stats, but just a catching machine, of course. And I'll have him there because he was awesome to watch. And then I'll go ahead and say Terrell Suggs. He had the longevity on that Ravens defensive line for many, many, many years, and he went elsewhere, and I think bounced back with the Ravens at the end there. And I think he was kind of an underrated player for most of his career. Maybe a little favoritism for me there. Maybe not the most, deserving sixth person on this list. Um, but I'm also kind of a Steelers hater, and so sorry, Heinz Ward. Uh, I don't hate Heinz Ward, but I don't love the Steelers. There's my six. My six: Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Larry Fitzgerald, Adam Vinatieri, Marshall Uganda, Terrell Suggs.
I think it's a good list. I did a little bit of research as you were going through on a couple of these players. Suggs is eighth all time in sacks. I feel like if you're top 10 in one of the most major counting stats, that
Mhm.
means something to me, right? Um, Question for you, because I was looking into some of the running backs here. I don't necessarily want to tip my hand, but can you name the top five most rushing yard running backs in league history? Like what five running backs had the most rushing
Like
yards?
career yards.
Career, yeah.
I mean, Frank Gore has got to be there. The guy played forever.
Frank Gore
Um,
is number three.
yeah, he's played so long. Like, I think that's the thing about his case is like, I don't think he was ever like the guy, but he was always a guy for a long time. So that's how you end up there.
Yeah.
Can I name the other rushing leaders? Eric Dickerson's like number one, right?
No.
Um, no, I'm thinking for single season. That's my bad. I'm
Oh,
thinking
you're good.
for.
Eric Dickerson's number nine historically overall, though. So
I think he had like an insane season where he had like 2,300 rushing yards or something.
that
Um,
sounds right.
AP up there.
AP's number five.
Okay. Um, I'm like, who played for a long time? That's really the it, right? It's like I don't know if Barry played long enough. Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith's number one and
Yeah,
is number one by over 1,600 yards. So I
that
don't
that
know
I
if
knew. That I was the name just didn't come to me.
you're missing
Um,
two.
that seems important.
One of
Seems
them
like
is historically one of the most ethical ballers of all time.
yeah, Walter Payton.
Walter Payton's number two, and then number
Yeah.
four actually is Barry Sanders. So
Oh, it is Barry. Okay.
yeah, despite what many consider an early retirement, just saying. Sorry,
I mean,
Barry
he had like
propagandist.
a lot of insane seasons, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. I
If I had to put a list together right now,
did that
I
with
think
no
I would put.
research, by the way.
I'm sorry.
I did that with no research, by the way.
That was huge. That was huge. I would have fumbled. I think I knew Emmett Smith. And I would have probably guessed other. I probably would have said Jim Brown just because famous
I
running
meant my
back.
list, not what you said.
I see. Yeah,
Um,
I needed the stats to back it. For me, I think Drew Brees is the quarterback here that like feels the most deserving to me. So I'll just start with him. I think Larry Fitzgerald is the next name on this list. So I'm like, yeah, that guy's a Hall of Famer. Um, None of the defensive linemen speaks to me. I feel like Rodney Harrison was kind of like the poster child of an era. Um, like when I think of hard-nosed defense from the 2010s or so, I feel like I think of Rodney Harrison, but um excuse me, wow. Um I'll give it to Vinatieri. So I'll go Breeze, Fitz. I think you're right about Vinatieri. I think in a weird way, the fact that Justin Tucker has completely butchered his like credibility as an individual with the accusations that are out there sort of changes, I think, the totem pole of all-time special teamers, and that is impactful. And man, you're right about Yanda. I somehow know who he is despite not being conscious at the time in which he was playing, which does kind of speak for itself. Um, but just for the sake of being different, I think Luke Kuechly's gonna have to wait a while. I think he'll make it. I think it's just gonna have to be like, you know, after a decade, they're gonna be like, wait, this guy's not in the hall.
mhm.
So I'll go Drew Brees, Fitz, Vinatieri. I think Jason Witten will have to wait. Ronnie Harrison, Earl Thomas, and I guess I'll go Yonda. I mean, I think Lomas Brown is a former Lion, and his case is actually pretty incredible. Like if you read his counting stats for like he gave up so few sacks over the course of like a 6 year period. It's terrifying. But Gore for me is the hardest one to keep out, just because if you rush for that many yards, I don't care if you have a really long career. It's a testament to your capabilities as a player to have such a long career.
For sure.
Um, and it kind of bums me out that a player who probably had a 20-year career or some odd might get forgotten just because he never truly like popped as the guy. Um, but I just think like Ronnie Harrelson, Earl Thomas defined their era defensively in a lot of ways. Again, Yonda like broke through the consciousness. Vinatieri, not just a great kicker, but a clutch kicker in big games.
Hmm.
And then Fitz is just like I believe he had more tackles than drops in his career as a wide receiver, which is
Correct. That's a correct
insane.
stat. Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's the Tyler Shuck is older than Trevor Lawrence of Hall of Fame stats. And then yeah, Drew Brees. So sorry to throw you into that
No, you're good.
off the jump, but I thought it was kind of a fun question there. And we didn't have quite as much news. So with that
I was
said,
uh I was right, by the way. Eric Dickerson, 2,105 yards,
that was
most
what
in the single
Saquon was
season.
at risk of passing, and then they had him sit last week 17 last year.
Hmm. Yeah, so that is what I was thinking of. Eric Dickerson wears goggles, so he gets a +1 from me.
That's huge. That is huge. All right, let's jump in to our wheel games of the week. Each week we spin a wheel, we each get a team, we watch that team's game, and I am up first this week. I had arguably the marquee matchup heading into the week. My game was Chiefs Colts, and this game ended in overtime. Chiefs 23, Colts 20. Uh Really meaningful matchup because it keeps the Chiefs realistically in playoff contention, and holds the Colts back from maybe challenging the Patriots for the number one seed right now. The Colts have not had as impressive results in recent weeks. For both teams in this game, I think the big thing that spelled doom was an inability to finish in the red zone. Neither of these teams, despite having offensive productivity, weren't able to close out drives as efficiently as they should have. The Chiefs got banged by penalties on at least one of their red zone carries there, and similarly, the Colts just weren't quite able to finish, which I think is impactful. They said at the start of, I swear it was like midway through the second quarter or something, where the Colts punted and they were like, that is the Colts' 20th punt in 12 weeks or something, which speaks to insane offensive efficiency. But this game was honestly kind of, I don't want to say boring, but there weren't a lot of high explosion plays. The Chiefs took a couple downfield shots where Mahomes was relatively accurate. He just couldn't get it in the guy's hands. A couple balls sailed a little bit, nothing crazy, but the Chiefs weren't able to necessarily connect on big plays, and the Colts had some nice passing, especially they had at least one play action pass go for a number of yards, but Jonathan Taylor just didn't take this game over. And I think that let the Chiefs hang around. Obviously, the game gets to overtime, and the Chiefs are able to finish the game off. Some nice intermediate passing. If I recall, Travis Kelce getting involved. Worthy had a nice catch on that last drive for the Chiefs, and so they were spreading the ball around. The Colts also spreading the ball around. I want to say it was their like tight end three got their first catch of the year. I don't think it was Ogletree. It was maybe their other tight end. No, it might have been like Ogletree's first catch of the season. But they had players catching their first balls. Meanwhile, you've got Alec Pierce is contributing with one or two quality catches. Michael Pittman scoring the first touchdown in this game, had some nice catches, but they also have Colston Loveland. So really deep receiving core for the
Tyler
Colts.
Warren, not Colston
Did I
Loveland.
say Colston Loveland? I'm sorry, you're right, Tyler Warren. Um, I watched the like key plays from Bears Steelers. That's what I was thinking of, I guess. Um, yes, Tyler Warren making some plays for them as well. He had a couple intermediate grabs. There just wasn't a dominant offensive offensive play. I will say the Colts on multiple occasions got crucial. They were able to disrupt. I don't think the Chiefs necessarily ever looked in offensive overdrive. Like I said, they stalled out in the red zone quite a bit, and I think this was just a game where neither team necessarily took over, and the Chiefs just kind of managed to get that last stop on the Colts, and then uh, they had that nice gain to Worthy that put them in a good spot, and then from there they were kind of able to kind of march the ball down the field. So I think if you're the Colts, is this a world-ending loss? Absolutely not. They had a lead for a lot of the first half, second half, but it's not like this game was 20-0 and the Chiefs rallied. It was consistently close, trading field goals, a couple touchdowns per team, that kind of thing. And I think the Chiefs just hung around, and then when they needed the big plays the most, they got them. So Colts shouldn't be losing too much sleep. I don't think Daniel Jones looked particularly gruesomely inaccurate in this game or anything. He played a fine game, and I think that they're probably still going to end up the most complete team out of the AFC South. Although the Texans have started to find their way so much on defense, that you never know. I just think they have enough offensive talent where, if any one of their offensive players had just shown up and showed out this game, right? Daniel Jones had like an above average performance, or Taylor broke a few more runs. This could easily have been a Colts win here. So close one, not an overwhelming amount of explosion. Chiefs had some good intermediate passing going, especially late in the game. Colts were not able to hang on, and the Chiefs were able to steal one from the Colts, keeping them alive, which I don't love, just because the Chiefs are a little annoying. And yeah, that's what I've got to say. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I got some Chiefs fatigue for sure. I feel you
Yep.
on the annoyance front. What I will say is something that you kind of said, not a horrible, blown lead for the Colts necessarily. They were up for a lot of this game, not by much, but up nonetheless. I think if they are a serious team, and I would imagine trading two first round picks for a corner to really solidify your secondary means you are trying to be a real deal contender in the playoff picture, got to be able to close games. So hopefully they can develop that skill as the season progresses for the playoffs because that's going to be very important for them.
Yeah, to that point, just briefly, I watch when any team has to put in a kicker that wasn't their starter for the season. Spencer Schrader on IR, so Michael Badgley, former Lion, I want to say Charger as well. Their
Correct.
kicker right now, and he was solid for us, but he had some injury concerns that I don't think was ever like a game breaker. I don't recall him missing any kicks. I think he was consistent for them. Granted, they weren't like launching nuclear missiles or anything in terms of distance, but um, I personally just whenever a kicker has any whiff of unreliability, I become concerned because um, kicking matters not just because of the points, but also because of the way you can strategize about how to manage drives, how far do you need to get before you kick a field goal, where do you have to go for it on fourth because you don't trust the kicker, that kind of thing. And so the fact that they got some reliable kicking out of Badgley in this game in shorter yardage situations, hopefully he can continue to be a steady presence for them and allow them to have a fuller schematic menu and not just be kind of overly reliant on going for it on fourth or touchdown or bust, that kind of thing. And happy to see that for them for sure.
Yeah. And your team for that game was the Colts or the Chiefs?
It was the Colts.
Colts. Got it. My team was the Eagles. And this week they played the Dallas Cowboys, a division showdown. What did I notice from the game? Well, Eagles were wearing their Kelly green jerseys. Excellent. Love when I can see those, although I feel like I've seen them maybe too much. I'm like, how often
Yeah.
do you guys wear these actually? Wait a minute. I thought this was like an every now and then. It feels like I always see them. Um, this was an interesting game, you know. At some point, Jared, the score of this game, I think, was 21-0.
Hmm.
The Eagles were up 21-0. Yet the Cowboys emerged victorious 24-21. Because something that happened to the Eagles that has kind of happened all season, their offense just stopped functioning on an appropriate level. They went off to this really hot start. AJ Brown was getting involved. He's, of course, made some chirps in the media about his usage several times this season, and they got him involved early and got him two touchdowns in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Jalen Hurts working in the passing game with him and Devontae Smith primarily. But the running game, Saquon Barkley wasn't there for a ton of this game. They do have offensive line woes right now, pretty banged up. So that makes sense to me on why that was the case. Lane Johnson, of course, is out amongst, I think, another guy that was missing, or at least left this game for some amount of time, but that's escaping me right now. So the running game just not going well. A lot of relying on Jalen Hurts and his passing ability, and that worked for the first half, and then they scored a whopping zero in the second half, I believe, with their drives. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but their drives were basically like punt, 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 fumble, punt, punt, interception, punt, or something like that. So it was not very efficient. Maybe a missed field goal in there as well from Jake Elliott, if I remember correctly. So not good drives in the second half for the Eagles. You did some research.
Yeah, I got it. I got it here for you.
Thank
In
you.
the second half, in the third quarter, and on punt, 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 missed field goal, fumble, punt.
Yeah, tough, 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 tough.
And I'll actually add to that. They muffed a punt return as well, and so Dallas recovered immediately.
Hmm.
Um, and
I do remember
then
that.
yep, and then they were unable to convert, so the Eagles got the ball back and then punted again. So
Yeah,
brutal.
not good. So obviously, scoring 21 in the first half, great, and holding the Cowboys to almost nothing. I think the Cowboys scored towards the end of the first half, if I remember correctly. Um, but basically, it was a tale of two halves,
Mhm.
and the Cowboys offense kind of started clicking. The Eagles defense stopped stopping them. Granted, they were on the field a lot because our offense wasn't doing anything. And the Cowboys kind of flipped the script in this one at home to beat the NFC East leading Eagles in a game that kind of saved the Cowboys season. I believe their record is like 5-1 now or something like that with the tie against
Mhm.
the Giants earlier in the season. Um,
Against the Packers, yeah.
the Packers, that's right. They beat the Giants at overtime, or the Giants beat
Yeah,
them in
that
overtime.
wasn't overtime. That was like a crazy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like 44-41 or something.
That's right. Jordan Love sailed the pass out the end zone. That yeah, yeah, with like 1 second left. Um. Anyways, other things from this game: Eagles rookie safety, second round pick Andrew Mukaba suffered an ankle fracture and will require surgery. Could end his season. We'll see there. Cowboys left tackle Tyler Guyton left with a high ankle sprain, doubtful for their Thanksgiving game this week against the Chiefs. We'll talk about that later. And history was made in this game as Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott passed who, Jared, to become the franchise's all-time passing yards leader?
I do know this one. This is Tony Romo.
This is Tony Romo. I was hoping I could trick you and you would think it was Troy Aikman. Um, but no, it is Tony Romo. Tony Romo, I know this isn't how it works for commentary because you have like certain guys commentate on certain networks and certain networks have certain games, but like we couldn't have somehow made a deal to get Tony Romo to be the commentator of this game. Um,
I feel like this game was on Fox, right?
I don't remember. It was in that noon or not that noon slot, the 3 p.m. slot.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're right. I think it was Fox, and then I think yeah, Tony CBS. So um
yeah.
unfortunate. Unfortunate for sure. You'd think they could maybe um sometimes they'll do like the cutaways from other games and stuff like that. You wonder if maybe they
Hmm.
could have done a quick cutaway to Tony, I
Mm.
don't know, that would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, I think he commentated a noon game, so he was, on the plane back home or whatever they do after their after their games.
Yeah.
Um, Here's a crazy stat. Dak is 7-1 against Philly at home in his career. So 8 games they played against the Eagles, he's 7-1. And 22-2 against divisional opponents at home, with his last loss being all the way back in 2017. That's crazy.
That is really impressive from him and unexpected to be quite honest. So really cool
Yeah,
to see
and
that.
Of course, he's had injuries here and there, so I'm sure the Cowboys have lost some home games since then, divisional home games. But when Dak suits up at the quarterback, they are more likely than not winning that division home game.
Uh, yeah, I just want to say about saving the Cowboys season because like there's that part of your brain that goes, oh, maybe they'll be a berserker, right? There are currently in the NFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams with more wins than the Cowboys. Granted, the Panthers at 6-6, sort of like, roughly on their level there. And of course, four of those teams will win their divisions, but it begs the question, how many more games can the Cowboys afford to lose if they want to potentially push into the playoffs this season? Stealing this win that looked improbable, especially I saw the first half. I mean, I was completely mentally checked out of this game by then. I went and did errands and then checked my phone and was like, "Wait a minute, the game's real. They're about to win." I think they need a little more of a push. That said, this does kind of feel like they kind of remind me of the Falcons with maybe a bit of a higher baseline talent, where it'd be like any given week they would either beat a team much better than them or lose to a team much worse than them, and they really couldn't
Mm.
decide. Right, they totally gave up that game against Arizona, but then turn around and beat Philadelphia. So uh,
I
concerning for
should
the.
I
Sorry, go
was
ahead.
going to just say I should have mentioned, of course, I know the Eagles were the team I kind of put my focus on, but George Pickens looks better than CeeDee Lamb right now.
Wow.
CD had a couple more major drops in this game, which have been an issue for him this season. One of them being a touchdown catch, if I remember correctly. George Pickens has looked ridiculous, just making insane catches, always in the right spot. Um, he's been awesome for them all season.
I feel like there were a lot of personality concerns around Pickens, and I feel like the Cowboys are just a good team for players with big personalities because like the Dallas persona is kind of larger than life and like yeah, we're the best and we're America's team and everything. And so I just wonder if it's been a better kind of like culture fit for the kind of attitude he brings to the game. But it's been good to see for them and definitely vindicates a trade that raised some maybe red flags based on how Steelers wide receivers have performed out of that ecosystem in the past. So um yeah, it seems like there's room for optimism for the Cowboys over a 2 to 3 season outlook, even if this isn't their year. So
For sure. What were you going to say? Concern for the Eagles?
oh, I just like you don't want to lose this way, you know.
Mm.
When you're in such like the first three drives were touchdown, 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 right? And then you disappear for 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters. It's not winning football. And I feel like they have this real like bottom out potential where sometimes they just don't quite see themselves in the mirror. But to be fair, that's kind of most teams this year anyway.
Yeah, I feel like the defense has been suffocating most offenses enough to kind of distract from the malaise that their offense has had.
Mhm.
And the Cowboys are a good enough offense that even though they were pretty suffocated in the first half, eventually they can kind of turn it on and get it going. And then their offense just gave them nothing in the second half, which was unfortunate. So flip the script there. And yeah, I feel like the Eagles are at this point where every week I'm like, okay, this is the week they're going to be like, remember, we're the Eagles. And I feel like in the past we've talked about how going into this game they were what 8-3, 8-2, 8-2, I think.
Mhm.
And now they're 8-3. Um, and it wasn't a convincing 8-2, and it's not a convincing 8-3.
Yeah, even their win against the Lions, which so many people were praising them for, it's not like they lit us up. It was like 16 to 9 or something like that.
That was
And
exactly the score.
yeah, and then they were pumping up Packers Eagles, and that was like I mean, their offense didn't look great then. So, um, one side of the ball popping off, another side not, and you just can't play complementary. You can't play football that isn't complementary and expect one side of the ball to do it week in, week out, because the floor will fall out. Any other thoughts on this game? And then I want us to move along to our pop and stop games of the week, so we can get to our segment afterwards.
Let's pop it, Jared. Let's pop. Pop and
Well, we got
stop.
to have a new one for this
That's right.
week,
You're
right?
so right.
How about tryptophan and not a fan? How about
Okay, 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 okay.
what's their like it's an insult to call someone a turkey, right? Like I don't know.
How about dude and rude?
Dude and rude is good. I have one more pitch because it's Thanksgiving. What about gravy and save me?
Oh, that's
Uh,
good. I'll respond to that with turkey and jerky.
Turkey and jerky's good. Mashed potatoes and absolute no's. There are a lot of
Okay.
options here.
Okay. One of those. Pick your favorite, listener. Your choice.
Yeah. Last option for you: green bean casserole, and these games weren't on a roll. Uh,
We're getting really wacky and wild. You're getting whole phrases in there.
yeah. Well, I'm just I most Thanksgiving dishes are not exactly able to be condensed, right?
Sure, sure.
Cranberry sauce and the viewer's loss. That's another one. But I'm just
Pie or die.
that's it. We've got games sweet as pie and games that just wouldn't die. And let's start with Texans Bills, a Thursday night football matchup that seemed relatively straightforward. I mean, the Texans just kind of being an upstart team. Defense is really strong. Offense hasn't been performing. Davis Mills has to play on a short week. 23-19 Texans over Bills, just like we all saw coming. Wow. What did you think of this result, Damon?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of said something last week, and I could be totally making this up, but I feel like I was like, man, the Bills, like, I feel like they should win this game against the Texans' backup QB, but like the Bills lost to the Falcons and they like lost to the Patriots early on. Like, I wouldn't be that surprised if they lost, and yet here they are with a loss on their resume to the Texans in their red uniforms that you did not like and then did like later. As you texted me as the game
I
progressed.
had to adjust to the helmets. I had to adjust to the helmets. Yeah. Actually, speaking of the helmets, briefly, I've been thinking about the Eagles Kelly Greens.
hmm
I kind of think their current logo makes a better helmet logo. So I wonder if you
hmm
did the Kelly Green helmet, but you took like the current eagle and then made the boundary
Mm,
silver instead of white. So
it'd be
it's kind of like
interesting.
green, white eagle, silver accent. Regardless, yeah, Texans smothered Josh Allen in this game.
The
I want to say
defense
they
is
had 8 sacks.
crazy.
Yeah, it was
10, I think 10, something
10.
8, 10, something like that.
Yeah, ridiculous. No, this was an awesome defensive performance for them. And the Bills are making a shakeup on offense as a result. What's the change coming to the wide receiver room?
The change, Keon Coleman, we talked about last week how he was a healthy scratch for missing a team meeting. Healthy scratch again in this one, but no reason, at least that we know of, for why that may be. And then the team signed recently released receiver from the Saints, Brandon Cooks. A little sad about that because I thought that was kind of like a, I'm going back to my home to retire there, and now he's already gone. But I can't blame him because it's the Saints. Maybe he'll get some run here on the Bills, who basically have Khalil Shakir as like this, you know, almost like a safety valve receiver, which is not something you see a lot. And Brandon Cooks, while older, can still kind of burn you over the top, be a downfield threat. Josh Allen obviously has a cannon. Maybe adds another element to their offense that they used to have with the likes of Gabe Davis, who is also still there, and was like their second best receiver in this game.
Ideally, they can get more out of Brandon Cooks as an addition than Amari Cooper, but I think part of the prognostication that the Bills could have a great season was predicated on Keon Coleman defining himself as a wide receiver one, and currently looking more like a wide receiver none. So,
Oh wow,
uh,
first round pick last year, right?
yeah, I mean he was a huge investment for this team, and so to turn around and not show up in that way, it's difficult. And I hope he figures it out. I mean, you never want to see a player flame out in this way, and Brandon Cooks might be a great veteran presence for him. I do want to throw in one more thing about this game. Yes, there were 8 sacks. I forgot that this safety, Kalen Bullock, had 2 picks and a forced fumble for the Texans in this game,
Huge.
which is crazy. Thank you, ESPN, for the reminder. That absolutely gives them a huge leg up, right? If they can continue to get turnovers, then offense be darned, right? At a certain point, it's almost insurmountable when you are that swarming on defense.
And while the
Um,
offense wasn't great, maybe it has looked better under Davis Mills than CJ Stroud.
there's been some surprise. We're gonna get to a similar. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll get to a similar take that I have um, on that topic later. But while we are talking about the value of good defense, let's talk about a game that ended with a defensive coordinator being let go by their team. This was the Lions versus the Giants. Clearly going to be a lopsided affair. Nope. Another surprise. Lions 34, Giants 27. But this game went all the way to overtime. And after the game, The Giants fire their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, after blowing another lead. The Giants led for, gosh, I don't know, 59 minutes and 30 seconds in this game. And their outside linebackers coach, Charlie Bullen, was named as the interim defensive coordinator under interim head coach, Mike Kafka. I feel a lot of things about this game. Whenever I think about watching it, when I think about, oh, how'd the Lions do this week? Just kind of like, my mind absently, I go, oh, we lost. And then I'm like, wait, no, we didn't lose. But it felt so
It
much
felt like a
like
loss.
defeat. It
Yeah.
felt miserable. And I want to give the Lions credit for winning, and I have a point on that in a moment. But this was a game where the Lions, I will say, the Giants had just about everything go right in terms of Jameis staying up on a few plays where Lions made contact.
The
Derek Barnes, I
trick
didn't
play
realize.
touchdown was insane.
Well, they had two of them. They had like the reverse, and then the deep for
Yeah.
their first score, and then Derek Barnes getting juked out by Jameis Winston to break free after catching a pass, and then scoring. I didn't realize it was Barnes till after. That made me really sad. Um, Apparently he like broke assignment because he saw what was happening and then went and tried to tackle him and couldn't tackle him. But this game, I mean, I Addy wanted to rewatch the highlights today, so we did, and I was watching the Amon-Ra tipped pass interception where it bounced out of his hands and the defender
Yeah.
scooped it up. And I remember when that happened in the game, I was like, there's just like, this is miserable. This is awful, right? We're driving down. We're mostly down 3 to 7 points for a majority of the game, maybe 10. And we just keep hanging around. Defense gets an interception. We can't do anything with it. We're driving down the field. Ball gets taken away. I mean, it's just like this constant uphill climb to stay back in this game. And finally, Jake Bates mercifully gives us a career long, I believe, tying the Lions record 59-yard field goal after a play in that series of downs where we were kind of setting up for the field goal. We lost like 5 yards
Yep.
on an attempted
We
screen,
sure
and
did.
that made it really precarious. If you're watching the game, Jake Bates's ball curves from
It
left to
looks like
right.
it's going out for 90% of the kick.
It literally goes outside of the pylon and then just
Yeah.
like tucks back in the most insanely
Like the
nerve-wracking
bottom
kick.
right corner. It was insane. He also
Yes, and
missed an easier kick earlier as well, right?
um, I don't know. I don't know if he attempted a
Maybe
field goal in
I
this.
could be thinking of the Eagles game. He definitely missed a kick in that game.
You might also be thinking. I mean, I know he missed the extra point against the Eagles, right? And that could be it. I'll double
Hmm.
check. Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe like I grew up with Calvin Johnson, and I love Calvin Johnson, and Calvin Johnson defines my Lions fandom.
Uh-oh.
But we may be approaching a point where Jahmyr Gibbs is he is in the top two best skill position players I have seen play for the Lions in my lifetime. I think it's
And let's
hard
say for
to
the listeners' context, Jared was not alive for the play of Barry Sanders.
correct. I'm post Barry, so let's make that clear. I started watching when Calvin Johnson was in his prime. Since then, I can't think of another Lions skill position player who's playing at the level that Jahmyr Gibbs is currently playing.
Have you heard of Kenny
It,
Galladay?
I
All
have.
right.
Speaking of Lions Giants, right? That's another
Right.
one the Lions won and the Giants did not.
Golden
Um,
Tate
Golden
also
was
falls
great.
into that category. Lions Giants. Not that he was a great
Oh,
player.
true. Yeah, I don't know if he's quite played at like I mean Jameer is doing things. 11 receptions for 45 yards, 15 carries for 219 yards, three combined touchdowns, including the
Insane.
first play of overtime, a brilliant, beautiful, untouched dagger straight through the heart of the Giants, and then Aiden Hutchinson finished it was it with the OT sack. Jahmyr Gibbs is in the top five all-time single game points per reception fantasy leaderboards with a performance that propelled me past my fantasy opponent this week, who was X, if I'm not mistaken. So all this to say, don't want to get too homery. Yes, I've been more nervous about the Lions than I was last season and even the season before, based on how our we already have four losses. But those losses against the Packers, Vikings, who are divisional, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. And this was a trap game feeling, right? This felt like it could have been a trap. People were saying, I was reading on ESPN, like, oh, if you lost the previous game, it can't be a trap. Either way, the Bills got smoked. by Miami, and they dropped a game to the Falcons, right? The Lions have not dropped that game. The
Right.
Eagles lost a divisional contest to the Giants themselves, right? The Lions did not, I mean, as if you count the Vikings, maybe, but the Lions did not lose to these Giants, right? I understand this was not a very promising result, but in the banana peel slip and fall game of the week that it could have been, right? Game of the year that it could have been, where you're suddenly even further behind in the playoff standings, et cetera, et cetera. We don't lose. That's my thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts to
Yeah.
add, or did I eat up all the
I mean,
airtime on that?
it's additionally scary because it was third string quarterback, I guess, James Winston.
Yeah.
Uh, no Scatteroo, no neighbors, no coach.
Yeah.
No, like, they just didn't have a lot going on the other side of the ball for the Giants. One of the things I really not did not enjoy in this game was, and I haven't enjoyed for several weeks, I guess, is the broadcast love for Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
I get it. He's a silly guy. He's a fun guy. That's why they love him. If that was just him, I would be all on board, but it's not. And you reminded me that back very early on in this podcast about his off the field accusations and lawsuits and court case and blah 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 blah. Look it up if you want to know. But it does not paint a very nice picture. And if it's true, then yuck. I don't like that kind of celebration of it. But the trick play juke touchdown that he like broke a tackle was insane for sure.
Derek Barnes will have his revenge, I'm certain. Um, other thing I wanted to add that annoyed me about the broadcast, by the way, do you remember the play where Jared Goff got sacked and then the guy was celebrating his sack and kind of hit Jared Goff in the helmet in the
He
middle of the
kicked him right
celebration?
in the face.
I was reminded of, do you remember when Ndamukong Suh stepped on Aaron Rodgers and like got
Yeah.
suspended for a game and like that was a huge story and everyone calls Ndamukong Suh a dirty player and then the broadcast is like, haha, I guess he got Jared in the face. Hee hee hee.
Yeah.
Like I was just so peeved by like it's fine if I honestly like whatever it was clearly an accident like I don't
Yeah.
think you need to smear the guy but I think you can just say oh man you want to be more careful when you're celebrating and move on like let's not double standard and
Right.
these upstart giants um I am not a biased fan. uh Credit to Jameis
Sure.
Winston for at the very least playing a very good game. I think this is a great game from Jameis overall. I don't think he lost them this game by any means. I
Yeah.
think the Lions just turned it on at the right time. Their defense wasn't able to handle us. So Jameer Gibbs just was like, I'm going to be the best player on the field, and that's going to win the Lions the game. And it did. Sets up for a big
The
matchup next week.
touchdown was so crazy. The overtime, like right up the gut and then just cut to the side, safety too slow to take the angle, and he's gone.
Yeah, it was undeniably electric. Anything you'd like to espouse upon before we move on to the next game here?
No, I think that's it. I mean, you know what I will say? I think this was mostly a last week thing, but I think kind of I noticed it again a little bit that the offensive line woes for the Lions. I wouldn't say they're woes like our offensive line is horrible, but it's not as dominant as it has been in years past. Have led to what could be fair criticisms of Jared Goff, but what sometimes feel unfair. Because it's like, oh, he didn't make the right read, and it's like, yeah, he had 1.5 seconds, and then somebody was hitting him, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is a game where there were multiple drops that cost us like significant potential conversions. Obviously, the interception bouncing off of Amon-Ra St. Brown's hands. I think it's like fair to argue that Goff needs everything to be going well around him for the team to make it work, and like that's a reasonable limitation to identify. But um, everyone is accountable as part of the team for making the offense successful, and I think there's an outsized narrative of it's Goff's fault. Um, Tell us about the current leaders of the NFC North, though. Let's move on to this next game here.
The current leaders of the NFC North are the 8-3 Chicago Bears after a narrow 3-point victory over the Steelers, 31-28. And that was against the Mason Rudolph because Aaron Rodgers, while practicing with his broken wrist all week, did not play. And this is his off arm, if I'm not mistaken. It's not his throwing wrist, of course, but having a broken bone and being out there as an NFL quarterback, probably not smart. That's why he took this one off. Steelers still made it a pretty close game. Caleb Williams, again, kind of moments of explosion to lead the Bears to success. Random big game for DJ Moore, who has kind of had games where he does nothing, which I should have mentioned also. Jameson Williams had as many yards as me and you in that Lions Giants game. So go us. Zero. That's zero, everybody. But yeah, same thing here for DJ Moore, who has had 0 yard games for the Bears. And then they were like, oh, yeah, remember that guy? Remember when we traded for him and he was like our main receiver? Yeah, maybe we should give him the ball. And they did. A little bit more of a split backfield in this one as well, with Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift on that side of the ball. And the Steelers able to execute despite not having Aaron Rodgers was a little surprising to me. This feels like a game the Bears should have walked away from pretty easily. And this 3-point victory does not aspire a ton of confidence in me because I think they've had a lot of games, a lot of wins this season that they've barely edged out. And eventually that catches back up to you, kind of like the Vikings last year with all their one-score game victories. They're kind of on the other end of that this year. I feel similarly with the Bears, and maybe that will rear its ugly head at some point.
Yeah, I do want to say credit to the Bears. They were up 31-21, if I'm not mistaken. So they at the very least had like a relatively solid lead at some point in the fourth quarter. Um, Apparently, per heed the call, their defense is very banged up. I'm not super versed on it, but I
Yeah,
guess
Jalen Johnson's been out most of the year. I think he's ramping up. I don't think he came back for this game, but he is about to be back.
yeah, honestly, like I have biased reasons to hope that the Bears aren't as elite as their record suggests, and I think there's enough in this play or in this game, excuse me. There was a play where Caleb Williams is right up against his own goal line, takes the snap back into the goal line, gets sacked, loses control of the ball while being sacked, is stripped, and then that's a Steelers touchdown as they fall on it in the end zone. And against this Steelers team, I think you can survive that. If it's a wild card game against a division winning team in the NFC, right? If this is Bears Rams, that's like a death knell, right?
Hmm.
Even Bears Eagles, which we're going to see on Friday, I don't think you can spot a lot of teams' points as the Bears and still find a way. Um, Curious to see if they're a team where once they lose a game, I know they've lost one a little while back, but like they've been on this streak, and I wonder if like a resounding loss would maybe change the tenor of things. But yeah, this team still feels wild card or just outside the wild card level overall, and it's the responsibility of a team like the Lions or the Packers if they want to assert themselves to step over them in the standings and stay there.
I'll say
Um,
this too. Bears leading the NFL in turnover differential. Do you have any clue what their turnover differential is?
Plus 16.
It is plus 16, most in the NFL by four.
Is it really? That was a
It is
guess.
that was oh, I thought you knew it. It's plus 16. Yeah.
Let's
Uh
go.
because they have 16 interceptions and 8 fumble recoveries. I mean that's an absurd number for 11 weeks, 12 weeks rather into the NFL season. So I don't think that is incredibly sustainable. Obviously, Kevin Byard has like a ton of interceptions. They have like I think 2 guys that are tied for second and like 1 guy in first. Like they have an insane amount of interceptions on their team. I was just looking at the stats because I wanted to say that because I remember seeing it at some point. How many interceptions do you think the least point differential team, the New York Jets, by the way, minus 13? How many interceptions do you think they have this season?
My guess is they haven't had a pick yet.
Yeah, that zero is crazy. That's a crazy number.
That is
That's a,
crazy.
that's a crazy number. Oh my God.
Like
Um,
you gotta get one on accident, right? Like there's a
right.
certain point.
How do you have zero?
It's interesting, right? I think and this is something that has probably been talked about by other people, but like stats are intrinsically misleading because game situations create inherent variance. Like, oh, the Jets are probably bad because they have 0 picks. No, they probably have 0 picks because their opponents are running the ball on them because they're up 15 points in the second quarter, right? That
Yeah.
said, I mean, like law of averages dictates you get at least one, right? Batted up
Yeah.
ball,
And I
something
think
like
that's
that.
kind of what I'm saying for the Bears here. The law of averages, I think, are going to bring the turnover differential back to a more normal number, which I think will kind of maybe flip some of these games that end up being close.
By the way, speaking of interceptions, big shout to Colts defensive end Laiatu Latu for batting a Mahomes pass at like the 5, it going up in the air, him catching it, and then getting tackled at the 1 to immediately put the Colts up basically 7-0 because it was on the Chiefs' first drive. That was just
Mm.
awesome. And I wanted to commend that for being awesome. But yeah, I think if the Bears see their turnover differential shift, maybe not even shift, but like if they're just not getting as many turnovers, we saw early in the season with the Jaguars, like, oh, the Jaguars, elite defense, right? They stopped getting turnovers. Suddenly the Jags aren't so elite anymore. And I wonder if a game where, if Caleb Williams has a two interception game and the defense doesn't have any turnovers, yes, most teams lose with a bad turnover differential, but I think the Bears are definitely not a team that can survive a turnover differential like that. So,
Yeah,
excuse me. Let's roll on. I
excellent.
don't know where my cough left, and then I realized I wanted to speak today and said, well, I'll come back. Um, An AFC matchup, one team trying to continue to assert their conference dominance, the other trying to stay alive just long enough for their savior to come riding in on the Batmobile that he may or may not have purchased last year. I remember there being some dialogue about that on the show quarterback. But it was the younger gun this week. Patriots 26 at Bengals 20. Joe Flacco not able to will the Bengals into a victory over the Patriots, who have been hot, hot, hot as a franchise all season. Now, potentially costly injury here. Patriots left tackle Will Campbell gets a knee injury that may not be season ending, but did land him on IR. Um, and that is, of course, a meaningful loss. I did check out some of the major plays from this game. The Bengals defense doing more than the Bengals defense normally does, getting some disruption in the interior, especially blowing up a few plays and keeping this one within range. But ultimately, the offense's last gasp fell short and let the Patriots sneak away from a desperate team that will likely see Joe Burrow return on Thanksgiving to a season almost certainly out of reach.
Yeah, 3-8 for them. Pretty unfortunate. A lot of close losses. Like the Bears have had a lot of close wins. One team's 8-3, one team's 3-8. Sometimes it's that simple. It's obviously not that simple in this case. There are obvious reasons, the Bengals are a worse team, but I think it is worth mentioning for the Patriots here. 6-point victory. I know they're 10-2 now. Again, I'm not super convinced. Like I'm still not like, oh, this team is absolutely going to be a hard out in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they got upset in the first round that they play, whether that's the divisional or the wild card, depending on where they land in the seeding. Because this Bengals team, led by Joe Flacco, who has been fine this season, without Jamar Chase, who was suspended, with T. Higgins exiting with a concussion, and the defense that we've made fun of all year for being horrible, without Trey Hendrickson, you beat them by six. It's like not a crazy victory, but it made for a fun game nonetheless. T. Higgins, by the way, and Trey Hendrickson, I just mentioned both of them, also out for Thanksgiving when they play division matchup against the Ravens. We'll talk about that later. Um, Also, got to mention another good guy alert here, another ethical baller alert. Bengals defensive end Shamar Stewart teamed up with the Jungle Gyms, organization I looked up and read a little bit about, to provide 100 families in the kind of Cincinnati area, Ohio area, with turkeys ahead of Thanksgiving. So very cool. Rookie, already doling out some partnerships in the area. Even with, his contract situation, he got signed very late in the offseason. And here he is giving back to the community very early.
Yeah, I think that's great. I never held the contract thing against him. I liked that he was standing up for himself and for rookies across the league.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought that was
yeah. I
cool.
wasn't saying it was his fault. I
Oh
was
no,
just
for
saying
sure,
like,
for sure.
yeah.
But I think like even if you're a cantankerous like oh you're it's a privilege to play blah blah blah. It's like yeah this is kind of just objectively um a good thing to do. I do want to shout out because I was watching the sort of like key plays cut that YouTube TV does where it for some reason considers every kickoff a key play and then like we'll skip 10 minutes in the game and nothing interesting happens.
Mm,
On that like last drive, Mitchell Tinsley got a lot of targets, wide receiver for the
yeah.
Bengals, and
Former
only
Commanders
two
legend.
receptions. But would you say Commanders legend?
Hmm.
I thought he'd materialized
I
like
don't know why
before
I know
the
that. Couldn't
yeah.
tell you.
I thought Jamar Chase got suspended, and the universe in kind created an avatar of Bengals
There you
fourth
go.
receiver to so shout out to Mitchell Tinsley, and for some reason, he's gonna live in my heart somewhere. Uh,
Mm,
last, what's our last pie game of the week? I guess.
there you go.
Last pie pop game of the week. Jags 27 at Cardinals 24 in overtime, a battle of teams that I will never trust to be better than how I've perceived them from 2017 to 2024, with the exception of the Fitzgerald Carson Palmer Cardinals playoff pushes.
The Jags were in there as an AFC Championship team one year.
That's I think in 2017. Sorry, 2018 to
Okay, got it,
2024.
got it,
There we
got
go.
it. Yeah, an interesting game. I think Jacoby Brissett continues to throw a billion passes, which is fun, despite Marvin Harrison Jr. missing another game, recovering from his appendectomy. Michael Wilson had like 15 targets after having 18 targets last week. That was a lot of fun. Backfield is a mix of Bam Knight. Marty Mercado was out, so they had Michael Carter back in some carries too. Just a carousel of backs back there for them. And the Cardinals put on a fun show, but ultimately lost to a team that I think we can agree is better despite not trusting them. You mentioned the Letu Colts interception. Walter Nolan, rookie Walter Nolan, did the same thing. Just like on the offensive lineman, bats the ball as it gets thrown past him, and then one arms it into side. Stiff arms offensive lineman, touchdown. It was awesome. So.
Sweet.
Love seeing the defensive line pick sixes as rare as they are, and of course a rookie who got a late start to the season. So love that. On the other side of the ball, Jaguars again, kind of just moseying along against the team. Like I don't think the Jaguars are this amazing team, but I definitely think they're better than the Cardinals backups, which is who they were playing. So I feel like a 3-point victory is like okay, but it made for an interesting watch. Of course, they were missing Travis Hunter out for the season. Brian Thomas Jr. still out. They had the likes of Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington as like their primary receivers. Brenton Strange coming back from IR. So it's not like they had this crazy offense. Travis Etienne had a really good game. I believe he had a direct snap touchdown, which I'm a big fan of when they throw the running back there at the QB and just say, "Hey, run it in." That was fun. And yeah, their defense is, 24 is not a lot, but it's not a little. I feel like they could have held the Cardinals to a more respectable score, given who, the talent they had on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Cardinals are a team that's got some young guys I feel like a little optimistic about. Like, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr., right? It seems like from everything I've heard, Michael Wilson stepped up a lot, and Walter Nolan making a disruption. I know there was a lot of talk about Will Johnson, right? And I like that for the Cardinals. I just feel like the coach has had enough time now to turn them into a more competitive team, even with Jacoby Brissett in. The Jaguars, conversely, to me, feel like these feel like two teams on different sides of mediocrity, where the Cardinals, like, okay, they just kind of make safe acquisitions, right? Maybe they trade up in the first round to get a tackle, but it's not like a crazy investment. And then, the Jaguars are on the job for about 6 days, and they're trading up to get Travis Hunter, right? I I feel like the Jaguars just feel like such a volatile product in football to me right
Hmm.
now. And I think the Cardinals might have the kind of roster that maybe you switch out the quarterback and the coach, get some fresh air in there. You might have some guys that you can plug someone in and see what you have. And I think that could be intriguing. Maybe you look at them as a potential landing spot for a Mac Jones type. If you can
Mm.
pry him away, maybe the Niners wouldn't trade him in division. But there have been a couple backups this year. Davis Mills, right, looking good in
Brissett's been
Houston.
good. Probably been better than
Yeah.
Kyler.
So yeah, I mean, Brissett has been solid. I guess you just wouldn't necessarily think of him as like a guy for the future, right? So
Yeah.
if you really want like a young dude who has a chance, I think there's a few names floating around that might be worth
Where's Zach Wilson at?
Miami, I think, somewhere. But yeah, I mean, like just I think the Cardinals, like I want to believe. Um,
Yeah,
all right, let's
it's
get
it's a team I like. I was gonna say something else. Oh, I was gonna say like the Jaguars beat this Cardinals team by 3, but this is kind of like the opposite of the Falcons and the Bills even. Um, but last week 35-6 over the Chargers. It's like which team are you, Jaguars? Like you crushed the
yeah.
Chargers and then you barely beat the Cardinals. I'd want them to be the former team that absolutely demolished what is a good Chargers team, but that is not the team we saw this week despite the victory.
Yeah, this might be a Bears style team where they might make the playoffs in the back of the wild card, but foresee them going on a meaningful run in the playoffs.
For sure.
If they get there, and Texans are coming up on them, so we'll see. Let's get to our die games, our pie games wrapped up. Let's get to our die games and let's move through them with some brevity here so we can get to our segment. We still have a lot of games to cover, so moving quickly. Seahawks 30, Titans 24. Seahawks take a commanding lead. Titans rumble back, not able to possess the ball one last time, but props to the Titans for keeping themselves in the contest late and
Mostly
at least
garbage
making things
time stuff
interesting.
for them.
Sure, but with for a team like the Titans, if you can at least feel some twinge of adrenaline against a good Seahawks team, that's something. And the Seahawks didn't pull away from them immediately like they have some other teams, so that was nice as well. But not a lot. You've got some trivia for me. I saw some of the answers earlier, but I want you to give it to me anyway.
Okay. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Seahawks wide receiver, surpassed who to become the most receiving yards in a single season in Seahawk history?
This one I think I saw and also just like had read during the week. DK Metcalf surpassed.
It is DK Metcalf. I think, part of me was like, I hope you guessed Steve Largent, but who really knows about Steve Largent?
Tyler
So
Lockett was going to be my guess
that's
if
super
I couldn't
fair.
think of DK. Yeah.
So he has already passed DK up there. By the way, it's week 12, 11 games played. So
Yeah.
still plenty of season. So to break this record at this time is insane. That being said, 1,313 yards. He is the fifth player in NFL history to have at least 1,300 yards in 11 games played. Who are the other four receivers to have done this?
I know I saw this list and I know I can't remember it because I saw it right before I took a nap and I was really tired.
I would say two of them are super gettable and two of them are not that gettable.
Was one of them like Michael Irvin or something?
No. Can you see when I
Okay.
highlight it?
I can't see when you highlight it. No.
Okay, because I'm like, I don't remember and I want to highlight it. Okay,
Oh, well,
excellent.
two of them are super gettable and two of them I've forgotten as well. I remember there being one guy's name where I was like, oh, that's like 1970s or something.
Um, yeah, probably one of the forgettable ones. Here, I'll give you teams. Will that help?
Yeah, that would help. That would help.
Okay, I'll start with the two guys that are super gettable because I literally couldn't tell you a single team for the other guys, but I'll look them up to see if you happen to know them. Super gettable guys. I will start with the Falcons.
Oh, Julio? Is it Julio?
Julio Jones. That is one of those players. The second guy I will give you the Chiefs.
Ooh. Oh, I remember this. I remember seeing this actually, now that I think about it. Oh, I know his name too. Hang on. I know I'm supposed to know this. Current
You're
Miami
absolutely
Dolphins wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. There we go.
yes. I was like,
Um,
wait, what's happening?
sorry,
No.
my brain was
Uh,
throwing me Kareem Hunt, and I was like, I know it's not
it's
Kareem
not
Hunt.
actually Kareem Hunt. I know, crazy. Um, wow, this is a crazy looking thing that I'm looking at right here. Is this is this a Ram? I think it's a Ram from 1949 to 1957.
I feel like it was John something. Um,
There's no John. His nickname was
uh,
Crazy Legs. Is that helpful?
it might be offensive. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not sure on that one.
uh, is it G Auto Catch 'em all or something? I don't know.
It starts with E.L.
Elmer?
Elroy Hirsch. That's right, baby.
Oh,
Elroy
Elroy
Hirsch.
Hirsch. Crazy legs,
Of
Elroy. Let's
of
go, baby.
course. The
Um,
second of which a Houston player. I don't even know what team this is. The Oilers. Okay, this is the Oilers. Um, all the way back in 1960 to 1966 is when this player played.
oh, it's a legendary 1960 to 1966 Houston Oiler Crazy Hands.
What a great guess. Not surprised you would have guessed that. It is one Charlie Hennigan.
That's that Charlie feels like a J name to me. I think that's who I was looking for there. What's the other trivia I'll botch?
The other the other trivia is that JSN is also the third player in NFL history with at least 75 yards in 11 consecutive games. These two are both very gettable. The other two receivers to have done this.
Is one of
I'll
them
get
St. Brown?
one of them is not St. Brown. Um,
I know it's a homer, but it feels like something he'd do.
yeah, I'll tell you this. One of them, his son is in the league.
Oh, gosh. I'm guessing it's Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison Sr. Yes, he did this for the Colts. The other
Oh, and then I
one,
think I saw the other one. Was it Jettas? Was it Justin Jefferson?
it was not. It was
Oh,
he is currently in the league. In fact, he may currently be on the same team as Jackson Smith and Jigba.
it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. Uh, no. Of course this is Jake Bobo. And if not Jake Bobo, it's probably Cooper Cup.
Cooper Cup, yeah, the other
Ooh.
name there. Former Triple Crown glory. So yeah. Crazy stats to do 11 games into a season. We will see if he can continue kind of his receiver dominance that he has had so far.
Yeah, speaking of dominance, the Packers dominated the Vikings this week 23-6. JJ McCarthy in concussion protocol after experiencing symptoms post-game, which would put Max Brosmer, undrafted free agent quarterback Max Brosmer, in line to start for this team if McCarthy cannot play.
That's a scary thought. Scary, scary thought. Scary season for the Vikings. I just may need to call it here.
I think their season ship has sailed, and I think the bigger concern now is can JJ McCarthy be the guy, or do they need to radically reinvent their quarterback room to have a shot?
I think you at
I
least need to
would
get a consistent veteran backup in there.
I if I am the Vikings, I am probably putting in a phone call with the Niners and trying to pry away a guy like Mac Jones because
Hmm.
I know he's favored by the Shanahan system and McVay and the disciples, etc. Like, you know, go get a guy that was well touted, you've seen do it. And if your plan was to build around roughly average quarterback play that doesn't result in big boneheaded mistakes, kind of feels like Mac Jones is sort of the ideal JJ McCarthy right now. So, um,
Go get Bailey
I,
Zappi.
Bailey Zappi, baby, who cannot break the starting lineup for the Browns. Bailey
Right.
Zappi. So, good investment there. Kenny Pickett probably floundering in Vegas right now.
Sure.
Um, Aiden O'Connell, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
His wrist is unbroken, I think, or
Yes.
whatever was wrong with him.
I man, at this point, the Raiders should just start him. I don't think
Yeah.
Gino's
Well, we'll
not
talk
it,
about
right?
that team in a bit. First,
Um,
let's talk about Ravens 23 or I'm sorry, versus Jets at home. 10 points, Ravens win. They beat the Jets. Jared, your takeaways? Thank you.
I'm sorry. My takeaways for this game.
I said your takeaways, and then I said thank you as if you were done providing your takeaways.
Oh, yes, that's about right. Um, it was exciting because the Jets were actually leading this game early, and then they were no longer leading the game. End of takeaways.
Tyrod Taylor couldn't do it, I guess.
Um, yeah, Taylor made to get the Jets a
Oh, you
top
know
three pick
what?
next year.
I'll shout out John Mechie for getting some use in this game. Shout out
I
John
noticed
Mechie.
that too. Hey, John Mechie, let's go, man. Um,
Overcame cancer, got traded 3 times this season, basically,
yeah.
and here he is.
I'll also say I actually like Tyrod Taylor. I know I was taking a swipe, but fun guy.
I like
He made
Tyrod
everyone.
Taylor. I used to love the Tyrod Taylor Bills. I used to love that team.
I actually want to skip our next game and come to it last because it's the most interesting ramifications narrative for
Okie
both
dokie.
teams. So let's jump over the electric narratives coming out of Browns Raiders and go straight to Falcons 24 at Saints 10. Michael Penix confirmed to miss the rest of the season to repair a partially torn ACL, and Falcons rookie corner Billy Bowman Jr. There was a lot of optimism around him. Tore his Achilles in practice before the game and also will miss the rest of the season. This is a nightmare for the Falcons, already uncompetitive on the season. Yes, they get a win, but no, they do not have access to some younger players who, of course, you want everyone to stay healthy, but especially your young guys. Get them more reps, get them more looks. Instead, what's the timeline on Penix? How does this set back Billy Bowman Jr.? Not what you want for the Falcons in a lost season.
For sure. I'll just go ahead and move right along. I had nothing to add.
I have one thing to add,
Rams,
if I may.
okay.
Saints made the unethical move of the week, bringing in Justin Tucker to try out for their kicker position.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
see that.
it appears he did not get signed. So
Boo!
yeah,
And yay, I guess, for
yeah.
not
Boo
getting
for
signed.
bringing him in. Yay for kicking him out.
Yeah.
By the way, your lighting has currently entered Wicked for Good promotion status.
That was what I was going for. Wicked for Good. Now out in theaters at your local AMC. No, I leaned a little too far back. Once I approach the camera, it remembers who I am. It's
I
funny
like you
how
got
that
the pink and
works.
green.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I had to get to that news in there. Take us through this electrostatic contest.
Rams 34, Buccaneers 7. Yikes, yikes, yikes. The Rams look awesome. This is not a team that I would say, oh, they're winning, but they're barely winning. This is a team that's winning with some veracity. Prior to the game, they did place offensive lineman Rob Havenstein sounds right. Tight end Tyler Higbee and safety Quentin Lake on IR didn't seem to matter much in this game for them. Matthew Stafford maybe is the MVP favorite right now. And that was Jared's under the radar pick preseason, so that's looking pretty good. Made some electric throws in this game. Devontae Adams got like another 1 yard touchdown. I brought that stat up last week or 2 weeks ago, and he did it yet again. And for the Bucks, of course, they've dealt with lots of injuries this year, including now quarterback Baker Mayfield left the game with a shoulder sprain. I believe it was reported to be an AC joint that was sprained. His arm was in a sling. Teddy Bridgewater, shout out Teddy Bridgewater. Would love Teddy Bridgewater on this podcast. Lions legend took over, and the offense kind of did not look great, which makes sense when you're missing your starter. Chris Godwin came back for this game. Couldn't really tell. Sean Tucker kind of took over for Rashad White as the lead back, and Bucky Irving will probably be back this week too. But yeah, this is a team that started off red hot, 3-0, maybe 4-0. I remember we talked about them like, wow, they like started off and they're looking great. Now all the way to 6-5, so they have really skid here as of late, and are only half game up on the mighty Carolina Panthers. So
Yeah, the Bucks for me were a sleeper, maybe NFC Championship team. I really thought their ceiling was high. Injuries have wrecked things. Obviously didn't get great play out of the backup quarterback, but hey, that's water under T Bridge.
mm,
Ah, did you ever watch The Office, Damon?
yeah, I'm a big not fan of The Office.
That's fine. Do you
U.S.
remember and
Office.
I'm sorry?
I said U.S. Office. I've never
Ah,
seen the
okay.
UK Office, so I can't
Okay.
can't comment on that one.
Did you ever do you remember Andy would talk about how he had this friend Broccoli Rob from like his a cappella group or whatever in college?
No recollection, but
I
please
watched The
explain.
Office more than you did. Anyway, my pitch is that offensive lineman Rob Havenstein should be called Blockily Rob. I think that would be
Mm.
um
Um, your brain goes to some interesting places during this podcast.
yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Niners 20, Panthers 9. Panthers safety Trevon Merrick punched Niners wide receiver Juwan Jennings in the groin. And after pleading with the refs for a flag and not getting it, he punched Merrick's face mask at the end of the game. Merrick has been suspended. This was a real letdown game for the Panthers, who had a chance to put themselves on the map of the NFC South with the Buccaneers flailing. And their defense said, we want to be that team, picking up 3 interceptions in the first half of this game.
Man, JC Horn is awesome.
JC Horn
And he
rules.
exited with a concussion, which is sad. But
Yeah, but he did more than enough for this team to give them a reasonable chance if the offense could produce. But if I'm not mistaken, Bryce Young threw 2 picks of his own, and that effectively sealed any chance for the Panthers to take advantage of a Niners team that itself was not necessarily humming. Obviously, those early turnovers. I think the best way to beat the Niners right now is okay, you've thrown 3 picks. If you can turn that into even like, 17 points as the Panthers, right? Can you force the Niners out of a run first script and not let CMC demolish you on the ground? I think that's a great recipe to beat the Niners. And they get down to the red zone after that first interception, and then Bryce Young just throws a heartbreaker. That puts the momentum right back in the Niners'
yeah,
breadbasket.
that
So
that
disappointing night.
that Seahawks level Super Bowl first and goal, let's throw the ball, and throw an interception was tough.
It
Throw it away,
was
man,
tough. Yeah, and obviously we're kind of like shadow Panthers enthusiasts, so we wanted it
for
for them, and
sure.
yeah,
Especially after 450 yards last week, I was like, here we go. And then it was like the third quarter, and it was like Bryce Young has thrown 58 passing yards, and it was like, okay, that's awesome.
yeah, it's definitely made inconsistency the theme of the season. I think a lot of the teams in the middle aren't like reliably meh. They're either
Hmm.
very good, very bad, right?
That's a great point. Yeah, for sure.
Panthers one of those teams, and I think we're going to end up seeing, right? I imagine we'll see a couple playoff upsets from these mediocre teams going berserker for one week and then laying down the next week, right? Um, I guess if one of them get on a run, anything's possible. But right now, Bucks or Panthers making the playoffs, coin toss. Bucks ultimately have a stronger infrastructure, but if Baker's out for any significant amount of time, it's going to be a real problem for this team. And the Panthers have it in them to win, so we will see. Last die game of the week. It's too hard for me to say. I need you to take this game. I can't think about the Browns quarterback situation right now.
That's fair. I will add for the that 49ers game, CMC had 9 touches in the first drive, which was nuts. Um,
That's actually a lot of them. Fun fact.
it was like it was literally like 3 dump off passes for the first like 3 plays of the drive. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Browns 24 at Vegas. Shadur's in town, baby. And they win against the Raiders, who only put up a measly 10.
Hmm. Sorry, you just said Browns 24 at Raiders, and I was worried you weren't going to say the point total, and then you got
Fair,
there.
fair, fair,
Sorry.
fair, fair. Actually, I have another podcast I do. I don't know if you're aware. I'm a little bit of a podcaster.
Sorry, there's just fewer men in that game, and I was worried that
That's
transitioning to the size of the rosters was going to cause some, you know.
gotta, gotta,
You
gotta,
you
gotta,
have an
gotta, gotta, gotta.
elegance that I couldn't foresee, and that's my novice
Mm.
showing. So, I'll shut up for the rest of the podcast. Go ahead.
Prior to this game, Browns defensive end Alex Highsmith signed a $33 million extension, 21 mil guaranteed. Fine player on that defensive line, which has been so, so strong, um, including Myles Garrett, who is on pace to break the NFL sack record by a lot, by like 2 or 3 sacks. Like it's not looking close. It's looking like he's gonna smash it. Anyways, Browns quarterback Shador Sanders, first
Ah,
start, the first QB since 1999. I was 3. You were not alive? Barely
correct.
alive. Okay.
Born in
Um,
2000, baby.
yeah, there you go. That makes me feel so old. When the franchise returned to Cleveland in 1999, before Jared was born, a quarterback
Yes.
did not win their first start here in the Browns jersey. Jared, how many quarterbacks try, and failed this feat?
I'm going to throw out a number.
Sure.
26.
26 is super high. That's like more than one quarterback a season. Um,
Well, how many have they had this year, Damon?
well, this year they've had 3, so I understand why you would say that.
I feel like they've
Uh,
had 20 or 21 since their last good QB, but show me.
since their Browns quarterbacks who have started their first game until Shador Sanders since 1999, 0 and 17.
I went a little high, but I'm not ashamed.
Yeah, so he is the first one to have done it against a very subpar Raiders team with a very good defense. So it's not like he did anything crazy. He didn't do anything crazy. That being said, Dylan Gabriel has cleared concussion protocol. He's out. He's ready to go. Okay, 1 week of Shador was fun, right? Wrong. Kevin Stefanski announced Shador Sanders is the starter, baby. He's already seen enough. Dylan Gabriel is down to not Dylan. I was trying to think of something that rhymed and
I
I
got
couldn't
one.
do it.
I got one.
Thank you.
He was dealing Gabriel, then he was healing Gabriel, and now we're all wondering, what are you feeling, Gabriel?
Oh, excellent pull from Jared. See, I have the pod experience. You got the fast, quick reactions for the listener, and they appreciate both of us equally, I'm sure.
Comment below
Um,
how much you appreciate both of us equally.
thank you, thank you. It's interesting. Jared adds the dealing. I can't even say his name correctly because I just think dealing every time I say it because of you. You coined that one, I believe. How do you feel as the truther of Dylan Gabriel on this podcast?
Um, to be honest, I hadn't exactly been like crunching the tape because when a player's this good, you just kind of know.
Mm.
Um, that said, stupid. I I feel like when you're the Browns and you stink and you never win a game ever, and someone wins you a game, it's enough to give them another try. And I think as someone who had Shadur Sanders as a sneaky rookie of the year pick,
Mm.
um, you could say there's not enough time, but if he won out, I think he would win rookie of the year. So
That would be insane.
it would be insane, but it would be one of the best stories of the year, no doubt. I think that my assumption is Dylan Gabriel probably played well enough to be a backup, right? If not in Cleveland, then somewhere. And for him, I think that's all you could ask for, right? I don't recall him being an utter embarrassment. Maybe he's a mediocre game manager in some's eyes, the eyes of the wrong people. But uh, either way, might as well ride the hot hand with Shadur. If he plays against a better team, and I mean, the Raiders are not a meaningful evaluation of anything,
They
right?
are horrible.
They're so bad. It'd be like asking if your teeth, like, oh, do you think my teeth are sufficiently white, and then holding up like brown construction paper as a point of comparison. Like it doesn't give you any meaningful information, right?
Sure.
Um, the Raiders just not good. Um, but let's see. I don't know.
As outlined by a front office move they made after this game.
Yeah. Raiders fired offensive coordinator Chip Kelly and senior offensive assistant Bob Bicknell after giving up. This is a trivia question. I'm going to say too many pressures and too many sacks.
Yeah. What are your guesses for the amount of pressures and sacks the Browns accumulated in this game?
20, or no, I was going to say 26. 16 pressures, 10 sacks.
23 pressures.
Jeez.
Um, and 10 sacks is correct. 10 sacks. Yes,
See,
sir.
this is why I scroll on my phone, is then I can see the truth through the matrix.
Nailed
Um,
it. Yeah. Insane. Just an insane. What do you expect a guy like Geno Smith to do? What do you expect Chip Kelly to do? I mean, he came from, I believe, I want to say Ohio State after they won the national championship. Of course, formerly in the league as a head coach as well. Um, but yeah, their offense has looked absolutely horrendous all year. So I'm surprised it took this long if they were going to make the move in season.
yeah. Highest paid OC in the league. Unfortunately, QB coach Greg Olson, no relation, I assume, was named interim offensive coordinator, which fine.
His third time being the offensive coordinator, by the way, of this
Here's
team,
a here's a trivia question. Third time being offensive coordinator of this team, you said?
of the Raiders.
Like he's just been held between staffs, and then whenever people get fired, he just gets promoted. Is that
I think he was like the actual offensive coordinator like several times before this.
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know who is the offensive line coach for this team?
Um, I assume it's somebody I would know if you're asking me.
You wouldn't know them by name, but you would know them by category.
What does that even mean?
It's Pete Carroll's son.
Oh, I see. No, I didn't know that.
Which,
Interesting.
uh, uh-oh.
Little,
Um,
little Nepo baby over there. Okay.
yeah, Belichick could pull it off. I don't know if the Raiders are pulling it off.
Pete Carroll and the
Um,
Mighty Raiders have not really given us the proof in the pudding, so to speak.
yeah, it's a big Civ situation. Yeah, and assistance quarterback coach Nate Carroll, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume there's relation. So,
Mm. Hmm.
um, just a tough spot. Joe Philbin's on this staff. That's crazy.
I
Um,
hope this offense looks dramatically different somehow next week.
that would be fun. I think maybe they could do Giants and just have some like insane trick plays and everything going on. That'd be kind of fun.
I don't know. Grab like the biggest guy you can find on the street and make him an offensive lineman.
honestly, there's hope. I don't hate that. Why not? Likely better than what's already happening.
Yeah. All right. That's week 12. Before we get to week 13, do you have any last comments on week 12?
No. I do have a question about the season at large, though, if I may ask.
Okay. You may.
What are three things you are thankful for in the NFL season this year?
I'm so glad you asked, as I was prepared to say I am thankful for this. It's Thanksgiving time. This episode will come out the day before Thanksgiving. So, our segment today, before we preview week 13 and the Thanksgiving games and such, what are we thankful for? We started with five, and then we said, God, we talk about every NFL team for way too long, and our podcasts are way too long. Maybe let's cut it down to three. So we
I'm
cut it
actually
down to three.
currently missing my flight to Tennessee, for those wondering. So
That right. It is the next morning. Um, so we each prepared three things that we are thankful for this NFL season, and we are going to tell them to each other and probably react. And I will try to not take forever. That'll be my goal. Um, who should start?
I want you to start because I have two solidly, and the third one's going to materialize in the next 4 minutes. So why
I
don't you start?
see. Would you like me to start from my most thankful or my like least most thankful?
Let's go least most thankful because then I
Least
won't
most
feel as bad
thankful.
if mine is half baked. Go ahead.
Sure. I'll start with my least most thankful. And that is, I'm gonna say it's surprising NFL riser teams is essentially the category. It's kind of a play on parity in a way, in a league that, or I guess not in a league, but in I guess in a league where like the Chiefs have maintained so much of the public image over recent years. The Patriots before that, yes, there were other teams here and there that were good, for a couple of years too, but dynastic is what it often feels like. There's always a team kind of there, and right now it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Although the back of my brain, I'm like, oh, the 6-5 Chiefs. I'm really scared of the 6-5 Chiefs. Um, but anyways, Patriots 10-2, number one seed in the AFC. A 2.5 game above the Bills. I don't think either of us would have said that was going to be the case going into the season, and you were pretty high on the Patriots. A whopping 9-8, I believe. I was like 5-12. Here they are at 10-2. Big surprise. Love to see that. Love what they're doing over there. And I surprisingly don't hate it, despite my, hate for the Patriots as a young person in the Brady era. Talk about the Colts, 8-3. Um, Leading the AFC South, of course, over the mighty 7-4 Jags. Kind of another surprise too. Both of those teams, we thought the Texans were a shoe-in for this division, and they're in third. They're coming on strong on the defensive side, particularly, but two teams that are above them currently. Flipping over to the NFC, uh, even though they're a division rival. I got to shout out the Bears being 8-3. Did not think that would be the case, even with Ben Johnson. We like Ben Johnson. We like some of the talent over there, but they have won despite being, so a lot of mediocre competition, a lot of close games. A win is a win. And they're just a half game over the Packers, one game over us in Detroit. Um, but still a good team nonetheless. And then I'll give you two more teams here in the same division. I thought the Rams were going to be good. They look incredible. They look like world beaters. I think I was really worried about the Matthew Stafford injury going into the season. That is far back in the recesses of my brain, and they are 9-2, currently over the 8-3 Seahawks, who I was high on. I predicted them and the Rams to finish 12-5, and I think that was a little higher than most people would have said. I did not think it was because Sam Darnold was going to somehow be even better than he was in Minnesota. So, you know, all of these teams, I think, have surprised a lot of people across the league, all in positive ways. And I'm happy to see so many different teams surprised in many different ways. Some that I thought were going to be awful, some that I thought were going to be good but are great. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to highlight. Thankful for good. I could have went surprises in the bad way, but I went surprises in the good way.
Yeah, there are certain teams that I am okay with not being at the center of the narrative, but I won't dwell on the negative. My least most thankful for, I'm gonna put two together. The expansion of the international series and all the jersey stuff that's been going on this year. You know, all the
Hmm.
alts, the throwbacks, whatever. And the reason these are my least most thankful is I think there's something ethical about
Mm.
spreading access to the NFL across the seas, right? I think like democratizing access to a sport is a meaningful initiative. I personally just don't find myself that excited or intrigued by it in practice. Like the fact that the game is played in Spain doesn't really serve to excite me in a meaningful way. Um, like it's kind of exciting when it's your team, I guess, and it's like, oh, they're in a weird time slot. That's kind of fun. But there wasn't like, man, we're playing in London. Oh my gosh, Madrid. Like it's, I think it is a good thing that it's happening. I don't find it experientially more exciting than watching any other game from home, but they're trying to push the narrative that it is. It's okay if it isn't. It's okay to let us find the fun in it and just broadcast it like a normal game. Similarly, the jerseys. I feel like a lot of jerseys have been like maybes and misses. They haven't been ambitious. They haven't changed my understanding of what a jersey can be. Obviously, I got the privilege of cameoing on the almost 5 hour city jersey rankings for the NBA. And what I really love about city jerseys is how they'll reinvent color scheme or they'll bring in really weird shapes and geometry. And sometimes it fails and sometimes it thrives. And either way, it's something worth talking about where it's like, yeah, let's put the Indianapolis Colts in a purple jersey. Like I don't know, let's go crazy. I want to see what the green Rams look like. And it just hasn't quite felt that way. Like I think Arizona maybe went the most sicko mode. And I liked that jersey for having tried something. So like things I want to see, jersey experimentation for sure, international expansion for sure. In practice, do they like absolutely butter my bread? Not in their current form. But I think they're worth acknowledging as efforts to change the shape of the experience of football. And I think I appreciate that evolution is always happening in ways that don't necessarily involve expanding the labor requirements for players. So,
Yeah, the potential for both of those things are there. We'll see if the execution can follow suit.
yeah, yeah, I think they need to do a stronger job of pushing teams like they want the international games to be like, oh, both teams matter in the internet. No, I think you should because there are teams that are basically assigned to countries, right? Like the Lions are like Germany is our international market. If the Lions are playing a game in Germany, they should treat it like a home game. It should be a homer broadcast, and they should give out Lions stuff at the stadium and say, "Hey, this international team is with you, fan base X, right? And don't you want to go shut these people up, opponent, right? Like, I don't know. That's part of the fun
Hmm.
of sports. And when it's just like a neutral audience shall observe two teams playing in a neutral environment, it's a little softer than it needs to be for me.
Yeah, let's snake it. Why don't you give me your number two?
My number two, um, I was
Your
honestly,
your we have our most thankful, we have our least most thankful. This is our thankful.
yeah, we are thankful. I am thankful. I'm wary. I'm thankful that running backs have been a larger part of the skill position conversation this year. We had a run for a long time where receivers dominated the narrative, especially in a like not that Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase aren't in their prime, but they aren't getting superior quarterback play to back them up right now. And I just feel like, and maybe this is just like the cynic in me, but it feels a little, I don't know, like casual to just be like, oh, I love wide receiver X because they make a big catch, right? Like
Hmm.
that era of stardom felt a little uninteresting to me. Like I think great wide receiver play is awesome. I love great wide receivers. I love the Lions wide receivers, and I don't want to slander them at all. When they play well, it's very satisfying. It's very exciting, but it just felt a little one dimensional. Where it was like, okay, every NFL tweet will either have the team's quarterback or best wide receiver on it, and there's 20 top 10 guys, right? Um, and I like when different things emerge, and I think we're in a season where Jonathan Taylor uh, he's been having an unbelievable season. Jahmyr Gibbs not far behind. Um, we still have CMC and Saquon playing at high levels, even if they aren't dominating the narrative in the league right now. And I just think that's fun. And now, even right, we're getting some buzz around the tight ends. Colston Loveland, Brock Bowers is a second year guy. Tyler Warren, they're more part of the conversation. Tucker Kraft, before he got injured for the Packers was like a number one guy. And so
Trey
I like that.
McBride.
Yeah, Trey McBride. I mean, I just really appreciate that we're getting a new wave of skill guys, and it feels like the appetite or the like menu of elite skill position players right now who are dominating the narratives in the league. Yes, you have your Jackson Smith and Jigba, you have some Emeka Egbuka in there, you have your Puka Nakuas, your Devontae Adams, but you also have your Gibbs, you have your Taylor, right? And then you have Loveland and Warren and Bowers and Kraft, and you can kind of get it everywhere. And I think that that is just a little more it's I don't think there's any position that people should just go, oh, that position doesn't matter. And I feel like in the last couple of years in the league, running backs have kind of returned as a position people care about and celebrate, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I like that one a lot for sure. Because I do think back before we were super NFL fans, running was obviously bigger than passing. And then
Mhm.
as quarterbacks have developed and receivers have developed, that narrative switched and passing became the thing. But teams, I've also realized you're allowed to throw the ball to your running back too. And I think that has changed a little bit. It used to be like, this is your guy that you give the ball to on first and second down, and then we bring this like 5'9" guy in on third down and he can maybe catch a ball. But now running backs can do both. Wow.
Uh, you know what it is? It's the NBA has 3-point shooting, right? And 3-point shooting is impressive, but it isn't always very satisfying to watch because it's not very like interactive in a
Hmm.
way that the passing game almost feels a little similar. Like, yes, everyone has to be engaged in the play and coverage is active, but it's a deep pass and you hit it or you don't. And I feel like running just has more of that like old school in the paint, like everybody bouncing into everybody else. And then when you do break free on a run, it's such a rare and satisfying experience in the way that like a 30-yard shot play, might happen 6 times a game and it just doesn't feel as electric. So
Super
I
fair.
don't know. As a guy who likes when people get banged around a little bit, I think it's cool. No offense to wide
Yeah.
receivers, by the way. You're great players. Kenny Galladay, whatever. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Calvin Johnson, all love to you, um, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go with my number two here. And this is something that is also kind of old school, to me at least, and something that I haven't felt that much in like the last 10, 15 years. Yes, every now and then you get something like this. But right now it feels like we have some elite defensive units in the NFL.
Ah,
Um, and that is a nice feeling because I feel like before there was defensive standout players specifically, but right now it feels like we have a couple of teams that are really here, and I will shout out some players from those teams. I've written four. Do you think you can guess the four defenses I've written down for this exercise?
Eagles are one.
Correct.
Texans are one.
Correct.
This is where it gets tricky because I could see 3 or 4 teams being these teams. Broncos?
Correct.
Um, there's a couple teams that have been like up and down. Seahawks, maybe?
Not the Seahawks. I'll tell you the fourth team here in a second. Let's do the first three. Texans. So we just talked about their defensive bashing of the Bills. I had Will Anderson Jr. as one of my DPOY picks. Looking possible right now. I will shout out former Vikings legend Daniil Hunter. Has been very good on the opposite edge of that pass rush. I really like Aziz Al-Shaair in the linebacker spot for them. That's someone who stands out to me. And these are not like these are their best defensive players. These are my favorites. Some of them are their best defensive players. I would be remiss to not mention Derek Stingley Jr. because I was so low on him when he got drafted because I was in Houston, not in Houston, I was in the Houston area in a room with people that are all Texans fans watching the draft, and they watched him take him over Sauce, and people were like, "What are they doing? How can they do this?" And then Sauce like was bonkers right away, and he was not, but he has really come on and been one of the best corners in the NFL. Um, the Eagles traded for Jalen Phillips. He's looked awesome for them so far. Sadly, he has looked
Yeah.
really good. And then again, the Eagles, I looked at their team and I was like, there's like 9 players that I can name. Um, I really like Nakobe Dean. I'm a Nakobe Dean appreciator. I might just be a pass rusher appreciator though. I think Zach Bond is still one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. I think he doesn't get the love he necessarily deserves. And then I will shout out Quinyon Mitchell because he had an excellent game against the Cowboys, breaking up a lot of passes, and I think he's just a really good player. I know you had him as one of your sleeper DPOI picks going into the season as well. And again, that's a team where I could name like five more guys. There's so many guys on
Yeah.
that team. The Broncos, I think, mostly has been the Nick Benito show at a linebacker. He's probably going to get some DPOY love. Pat Surtain, I do like, of course, DPOY last year has been out. They are more of a unit, though. They are like a system defense in the way that they're stopping people. Because the Broncos are incredible in terms of their record, but it's not like Bo Nix and the offense are putting up 30 a game. They're just holding teams to like 14 and under and just winning because of it. Um, so obviously impressive. I'll give you one last guess for this team if you wanted to throw another shot in the dark out there.
Could you give me a conference?
I'll give you a hint. This team is
Yeah.
not good.
Not a good team with a good defense, you said. I mean,
AFC.
Miles Garrett's playing so crazy. Is it Cleveland?
It's the Browns. The Browns defense is really good.
Yeah.
They're like holding teams to really low yards or really low points. They just can't score the ball, so they can't win games. It's kind of what happens. Miles Garrett, of course, you mentioned. Carson Schwarzenegger has been in great
Mm.
for them as a rookie linebacker, second round pick. I've always had an appreciation for both Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit in their secondary. Um, and they have lived up to it for the most part. I can't, I'm not going to give you like this is how many pass deflections they have. Couldn't tell you, but they talk the talk and they seem to walk the walk. And yeah, a good defense that the other side of the ball is so bad they just can't win games, basically. But their defense has been awesome. Miles Garrett, of course, is having a legendary season. Another one of my DPOI picks looking okay.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, I just feel like, you had like the Legion of Boom, right? You had the Broncos, the one with Peyton Manning. They had a really good defense. But other than that, there's not like a ton of teams recent era. Of course, if you go back further in time, you get the crazy Bears and Vikings and Steelers and some of those crazy defenses in the past. But it just feels like the last 5, 10 years, there haven't been like, wow, this is an incredible, unstoppable defense. And it feels like we have some of those right now.
yeah, I think part of my being against passing is just because like I love run defense based football. Like I think that's so much fun. I think the Legion of Boom was such a unique and exciting team built around Marshawn Lynch and just like, Richard Sherman being a lockdown. Like it was awesome, right?
Mhm.
I obviously defensive end, linebacker, right? Like I love defense as well, and I think it's a great pick because typically it is only one or two defenses a year that are like truly legit. But watching the Texans beat up on the Bills was like, oh, this is so exciting, right? Yeah, I think disruptive defensive play is cool. I like when it's in vogue. I think it's harder for defense to be popular. I think more people just like offense, and so it takes great defense to put it on the radar. And defenses have been playing that way this year, which has been great to see. So, um, yeah, no, huge fan of that take. What's your number one? What are you most thankful for this year?
One of my most thankful for this year, something that maybe happens every year, but I just noticed a large number this year, um, and that is the resurgence of written off quarterbacks.
Mm,
Um, because it's cool when guys get an opportunity after being like, oh, that guy's a bust or that guy's this, and then here they are. I'll of course start with Shedeur Sanders. Just kidding. But I thought that was a funny name to mention. We talked about the person, but Jameis Winston has looked good in the 2 games he's had for the Giants. Also minor. Davis Mills has looked very good in the absence of CJ Stroud. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, there may be a team or two that wants to take a look at him this offseason to see if he's not something for the future. Jacoby Brissett, I already said he's looked better than Kyler so far this year for the Cardinals. And I've always kind of had an appreciation for him as that kind of. I remember him being the third stringer for the Patriots. It was Brady, then Garoppolo, then Jacoby Brissett. And since then, I've kind of followed his journeyman career, and somehow every team he goes to, he ends up starting for some amount of time. It's weird in that way. Like it's like, oh yeah, I remember when he was the Colts QB and the Browns QB and like like three other teams QBs. Mac Jones, you talked about earlier, looked awesome in the absence of Brock Purdy. And based on the interceptions Brock Purdy was throwing, maybe better than Brock Purdy and how he's played this season. So that's nice because he was written off in New England. Joe Flacco is a billion years old. Here he is making the Bengals 3-8, but their offense looks much, much better than it did in the Jake Browning hold on the QB position. And then the last two I think are the most important. I mentioned them earlier. Sam Darnold. This kind of happened last year, but I think let's say 70% of the credit went to Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings offense, and not really Sam Darnold as a talent. And I think a lot of people, yourself included, if I remember correctly, had questions about him in the Seahawks offense. And he's proved a lot of people wrong. So I really appreciate that. Last one, super, super easy. Daniel Jones. Practice squad safety for the Giants, Daniel Jones last year, becoming the starter and captaining this Colts team to a very surprising season. So a lot of those are very short-term examples, but just guys that I think teams gave up on. And maybe it just wasn't a system fit, maybe it was a coaching thing, but clearly the talent is there for these players. They showed they can do it when given the right situation. And I hope, obviously, I mentioned the short-termness that going to another team, these guys can have an opportunity or something as their careers progress. Some of them are older, but as their careers progress, to keep showing the talent that they have. So I'm thankful that they have gotten to display that they are still capable NFL quarterbacks. And this, like I said, has happened before. Baker is an example that comes to mind, right? But this year it seems like there's a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I think Daniel Jones has definitely been like the most surprising narrative of the year, right? Is that Daniel Jones
Hmm.
is relevant. I don't want to respond too much more because my most thankful is actually pretty similar.
Okay.
Um, so I am most thankful, and this is the one that I'm like, oh yeah, I can, put my flag on this because when we were thinking of this activity, this is what came to mind immediately. Thank you, backup quarterbacks all across the league for being interesting enough to make narratives out of teams that should no longer be relevant. Thank you for that.
Mm,
Think about the backup quarterbacks that have played across the league and whether we talked about whether those backup quarterbacks were interesting. Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. Is Tyrod going to start? Oh, Tyrod's injured, so now Justin's going to start. Oh, now Tyrod's going to start again. Oh, he almost beat the Bucks when he had to start for an injured Justin Fields earlier in the year. That's interesting, right? NFC East, you know who was a backup to start the year? Jackson Dart. And then Jameis behind Jackson Dart. That's also been interesting. So that's kept them interesting. Washington Commanders. Oh, well, no Jaden Daniels. Your season's done. Wait, Marcus Mariota. Good enough guy that we might think about him, right? Oh, interesting, interesting. NFC South has had the Saints, right? We had the Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck transfer. And even if a lot of that was like, Schadenfreude, haha, I think there's still some like fun and intrigue in an old young guy. And that's been a narrative for a team that has not had a lot to narrative about. Michael Penix Jr., Kirk Cousins didn't even need to play to be interesting, right? We don't actually
hmm
care as much about Kirk Cousins now that he is starting because there isn't the wonderment about whether he would ever replace Michael Penix. Thank you, Kirk Cousins, for keeping the Falcons interesting. NFC West, Mac Jones. Mac Jones was not just the backup. He didn't just lead them to wins. There started to be a ton of think pieces about whether Mac Jones should take over for Brock Purdy. And ditto for Jacoby Brissett in Arizona with Kyler out. So they have all made their contest in the NFC more interesting, to say nothing of the Minnesota hotbed, right? You got JJ. JJ ain't doing it. Okay, he's out. So Carson Wentz is back? Ridiculous,
I should have
right?
said Carson Wentz. I don't think I thought of him because he's obviously out for the year, but looked very good in his stint. Not very good, but looked like a respectable starting quarterback in his Minnesota stint this year.
I was going to say very good is a limb, right? But he's
Yeah.
definitely okay, right? He definitely looked
Yeah.
like a backup, and he looked like a good enough backup where people were wondering should JJ return until he kind of fell off and then got hurt and everything. But Jumping over to the AFC, I'm just going to go through like every backup quarterback situation in the league.
Great.
I already hit Tyrod, so that's done. AFC South, Davis Mills, we already mentioned. Technically Daniel Jones was kind of battling for QB1, but I don't think he really counts. Davis
Anthony
Mills,
Richardson hurting himself and going on IR, pretty big.
that was that was wild. Is he off IR? Is he like
No, he's
still
on
out?
IR still.
Wow. That's unbelievable. But Davis Mills is like, oh, he's kind of looking better than Stroud right now. AFC West, the Raiders, by not turning to a backup quarterback at this point, I guess
Hmm.
have been interesting in that regard. And then the AFC North, don't even get me started. You got Dylan Gabriel, who I know most of the national media was just waiting for Shadur. And now we have Shadur, okay? And then who was the starter in Cleveland? Joe Flacco, who, after replacing Jake Browning, who people had hope in, actually gave the Bengals real hope. That hope has not been fulfilled, but they were interesting for a long time. Oh, who else had a backup? Baltimore, right? Oh, Cooper Rush ain't it. Tyler Huntley comes in, wins a game. Not that exciting, right? But all across the league, backups, keeping things hot, keeping things interesting, keeping us on our toes. Mason Rudolph giving us a good. I mean, here's the thing, right? I think there's two types of backups. There's your backups who can play a serviceable game, but you won't view them as more than backups, right? I'd say Teddy Bridgewater is one of those guys at this point in his career. And then there's the scintillating, intriguing guys. And there have been
Hmm.
like 10 of them this year. I mean, how many times have we come on here and gone, I don't know, it kind of feels like this guy's playing better than the other guy.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, their season might still be alive just because of these two guys who they happen to have in the stable, right? Like it's unbelievable. And I think it's so awesome because if the Bengals had no intrigue, we wouldn't care about Joe coming back. Okay. They're off the board. And then there's just a couple other teams like that. I mean, the Niners could be a 6 loss team right now and barely in the NFC picture. And that would be boring. I mean, there's just a lot that's been saved for us because of these great backups, which is why I spent about 45 minutes just now talking about them. I just think it's definitely, for me, the defining aspect of this season league wide has been, is the backup better than the starter? Can the backup keep the season alive? And I think we're getting to the point in the schedule where that narrative is going to kind of jettison like the back end of a rocket, and we're going to get the competitors that are really the conversation. But up to this point, it's given us something to talk about and think about. And I am thankful for that.
That was a great take. I wondered how many quarterbacks I should say, and I tried to limit to people that are like currently relevant, basically. Um, but yeah, I'm glad because you had even more names to draw from. I didn't steal all your thunder there, so that's great. Um, Great take by you. Let's I'm gonna do a quick recap. So my three most thankful things this NFL season. Number three, surprising NFL risers, teams that have surpassed our expectations. Number two, elite NFL defenses. The Broncos, Eagles, Browns, and Texans are the ones I named. I think have all been stellar this year. And number one, the resurgence of QBs formerly written off in the NFL that have played great this year. Jared, what are your three most thankful things this season?
Number three, experimentation with jerseys and with overseas games, even if I don't love where they're at now. I love that we're opening the door. Number two, the creation of a more diverse suite of skill players in the national consciousness. It's not just the top 20, top 10 wide receivers, as I like to say. We've got running backs, we've got tight ends. We're celebrating all positions on offense. And number one is how the backup quarterbacks have come in, kept seasons alive, stirred up controversy, and given us things to think about for teams that otherwise would have vanished from the map with their starters gone if their backups were not such a scintillating group of young upstarts or wily veterans who've kept the season rolling across the league.
And then our podcast wouldn't be 2.5 hours long every day.
Could you
But yet,
imagine being able
here
to
we
listen to
are.
this on the ride home? It's crazy. Uh, Speaking of 2.5 hours, now that we've reached the 150-minute mark, let's preview next week.
Let's preview next week, starting, of course, with the wheel. Worth mentioning this week, no bye weeks. Next week, we will have our last four bye weeks. So every team plays in the Thanksgiving slate. Of course, three games on Thanksgiving, one game on Black Friday, bunch of games in their normal Sunday slots, and then Monday Night Football. So. Yeah.
Let's roll this wheel. Am I first? Are you first?
Jared is first. We have not hit a single AFC North team, and there are only 8 teams on this wheel, Jared. And yet an entire division remains unvisited.
Hey, can I be totally real with you? I can maybe think of one of those teams that I would want. I will say this is a good week for the AFC North. I'm not really looking for Pittsburgh. I'm going to ask for no Pittsburgh, please.
All right. And now that I'll spend, Jared will receive Pittsburgh as his selection.
Skip, 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 skip.
You lucky duck.
No!
You lucky duck.
I cannot
Jared,
exaggerate to the audio listener.
how
Within one
close it
pixel of
was.
getting the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was
Now, to be
unbelievable.
fair, the Steelers do play the Bills, but you get the Chargers, who play the Raiders.
You ever read The Monkey's Paw? That's what this feels like. Uh, that is, come on, man. I should have specified what I was looking for. Oh, no. Chargers
It's
Raid.
what
It's a
you
division game.
requested.
It's a division game. Upset watch.
Uh, the Chip Kelly upset watch, maybe. I'm not
Hey,
sure.
I am upset watch. How's that?
There you
I will
go.
be upset while watching.
The Wheel of Misfortune, is that what our former student wanted to call this? It seems to keep on giving.
I need to look for a dud for you to have to experience so I can wish it upon you in darkness.
Uh, yeah, the Panthers
Honestly,
are on here. Did we not get the Panthers, or did you get someone that was playing the Panthers?
I got the Panthers and executed a trade to get the Jets off the list because I was
I
watching Panthers
understand.
Jets.
Yes,
Honestly, the rest of these
yes.
teams I think have matchups that have at least one team worth watching. So in asking not to get the Steelers, I got the worst matchup of the week.
Excellent,
Oh,
excellent.
Falcons Jets is out there.
Uh,
Oh,
and
great
I
game.
will.
Great game.
I will get the other another AFC North or the AFC North matchup of the week rather is what I was trying to say. Bengals and perhaps Joe Burrow's return, his likely return at Ravens Thanksgiving Eve, Thursday night football. What an exciting game to watch. No T. Higgins, no Trey Hendrickson. Lamar has kind of been struggling on the Ravens as of late, offense-wise, but they have won 5 games in a row to be back at 6-5 and in grasp of this division lead, as we all expected when the season started. So, an exciting game to watch. A game I was certainly going to watch anyways. So, I will not have to take that one out of the slot of noon games, which is nice.
I knew I should have been humble. Oh, I think I mean there's maybe one or two other games that are in contention for worst of the week. Actually, I dodged a couple bullets, but woo, woo wee. Let's talk about this week to come, shall we?
Let's talk about this week. Jared, I'll give you first pick. What game do you want to highlight?
Um, I'm gonna take the Homer game. Sorry, this one's just too big.
No, you
At noon
should. You
on
should.
Thanksgiving, Packers at Lions in week one. All the narratives about the Lions were confirmed, and all the narratives about the Packers were confirmed as the Micah Parsons trade single handedly led to the Packers defeating the Lions in a resounding rout. What has followed has been nothing less than a reversal of fortunes for each team that has kind of coincided with them being in a roughly similar position. Lions just on the outside of the wild card, Packers in the wild card, separated very, very narrowly. Both teams that have displayed some inconsistency opponent to opponent. Lions started slow in week one, Packers started hot, but have since regressed to roughly similar levels and are currently behind the Bears at the top of the division. This game has massive ramifications for the playoff picture, massive ramifications for the NFC North race, especially with the Bears facing a really difficult matchup we'll talk about soon. I think that I will be watching this game with a lot of intensity and some measurable anxiety, but I also can't wait because what's more meaningful than Lions Thanksgiving football? It matters. So, big one to watch out for if you're a fan of an NFC team looking to see how the standings shake out.
For sure. I will take the remaining Thanksgiving game. Chiefs at Cowboys, who always play on Thanksgiving. Maybe the two most popular teams in football, Cowboys being the Cowboys and the Chiefs being the current Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and all that. I imagine the viewers of this game or the viewing of this game will be a lot, especially on the national holiday. And Chiefs need to not win out, but they need to win most of their games to really have a shot, I think, in the AFC playoff picture. Cowboys are in a similar position in the NFC. So I'm interested to see what happens here. The Cowboys have great offense. The Chiefs have a okay to good defense and an offense that I wouldn't say is great or anything, but when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, they can execute in those kind of 2-minute warning situations. So I think this will be a fun one.
Yeah, subtle win by the NFL putting this in the Thanksgiving dinner slot. It's likely by Bengals Ravens you finished your meal, but if you don't
3:30
like
p.m. I
watching,
have eaten dinner.
what I mean is you're likely in the midst of preparing or you're eating dinner in like the second half of this game.
Hmm.
And as someone who doesn't enjoy the Chiefs or the Cowboys, I have a perfectly good excuse to not have this game on my television as I'll be focused on a Thanksgiving meal with family. And then as I'm getting ready to settle into the food coma, Bengals Ravens providing a nice evening showdown.
I see.
Am I next?
You are next. That's how it
Let,
goes.
let me sell you on a sleeper game, okay?
Okay, sure.
Divisional opponents.
Mm.
One of them in the middle of their division, one of them slipping away as a franchise. Being slept on is perhaps the game of the week. Sunday, November 30th, 3:25 p.m. Raiders at Chargers. No? Okay. I'll choose a different game instead.
I was
Let's
I
move.
was gonna say, wait, that was your real game. I'm
Yeah, I was
confused.
trying to sell it in a way that made us feel alive.
I understand.
I got to take the Black Friday matchup here. Bears Eagles, two division leading teams, one coming after a stunning loss, another coming off a close but ultimately solid win this game at 2 p.m. on Friday. Bit of a weird time of day for it. I would honestly think you'd want to put that. I wonder if they put it in the middle of the day. Sorry to sidebar, because Prime wants you engaging with Prime content before the day of sales is up, as opposed to
Uh-huh.
putting it in the evening when you've already like done all your shopping. It's like, oh, well, I'm looking at Prime ads and I haven't spent everything yet. Um,
I still have some credit score. Let's go
I
ahead
still have
and
some credit
rid
score. Let's
myself of
burn
that.
that baby. I will be licking my chops for the Steam sale personally, but either way, I think the Bears need to face top competition, and the Eagles' defense is that exactly. If the wishy-washy Steelers defense can heavily punish Caleb Williams for a mistake, I cannot imagine the Eagles will be more lenient on the Bears. Alternatively, if the Bears win, they are announcing themselves um, as potentially having arrived um, sooner than anticipated as an NFC North team to watch out. And so this game just really matters standing wise. I don't think the Eagles will lose their hold on the NFC East, but it could give the NFC West winner a long-term leg up on the race for the number one seed if they drop this one to the Bears. If the Eagles take care of business, the NFC North, I believe, falls into the hands of the winner of Packers Lions. So, big time game.
For sure. I will take another division or a divisional matchup that matters. Texans at Colts. Colts kind of reeling a little bit after their loss to the Chiefs. Texans looking better as of late, especially with the defense we've mentioned multiple times this episode. Doesn't really matter who the quarterback is because their defense has been suffocating and their offense can execute some amount regardless of who's under center. And a win by the Texans here would make the number one seed, I think one or not the number one seed, excuse me, the number one AFC South team, um, one win apart rather than the 2 wins it is right now. So that would be dramatic.
No, that game means a lot with the Colts' recent slippage. It's a great pick. I'm kind of looking around, and a lot of these games feel mildly interesting. If I have to pick one that maybe
I,
rises to the,
I'm done. That was my
you're done
last the
too.
one I cared about.
I mean, I like, you know, can I mention a pair of games in tandem?
Sure.
Okay, Rams, Panthers, and Cardinals, Buccaneers. Individually, I don't find these games particularly appealing. I think the Rams are markedly better than the Panthers. I think the Buccaneers are markedly better than the Cardinals, but with Baker injured and with the Panthers being a true wild card team in every sense of the word, this could end up being really weird and it could shake up our understanding of the NFC South. I don't think the Buccaneers are immortal at the top of that division. So I'll
Panthers
definitely be
half a
watching.
game back.
Yeah, I mean it's a very much anyone's game, and if the Panthers come out and stun the Rams, if Rico Dowdle somehow just takes control of the game, which is theoretically possible, we could be looking at a very different NFC South coming into Week 14 than we ever expected. So that would be an
Very
interesting
true.
result, even if the process doesn't appeal to me terribly.
Yeah. Let's do our one-liners, shall we?
Let's do it.
I'll kick us off here. Saints at Dolphins. I want to throw up instead of watch this game. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's clear and accurate. Um, Falcons, Jets. When I looked at Raiders Chargers and thought, man, this must be the worst game of the week, this one came up as a real contender for me. Um, Two veteran quarterbacks who likely will not have starting jobs in the league for the remainder of their careers, with all due respect to them, battle in a showdown of elder statesmen in the league.
No. After narrowly bringing the Browns to a close defeat at home against a talented 49ers team, Shedeur Sanders will remain the starter despite all of the injuries in the 49ers secondary that may have made his game look better than it is.
Nice. Um, Jaguars, Titans. Jaguars. Do you hear it? The call of submediocrity that's defined you. The Titans are waiting to drag you into the hell of missing the playoffs. Will you
Mm,
answer their call, or will you roar louder than the murmuring of the river Styx?
excellent, excellent. I like that.
It just feels like, I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
that feels like a trap. But anyway,
Vikings at Seahawks. Sam Darnold becomes the first quarterback to start for two NFL teams in the same game.
wait, that's pretty funny. That's a good one. It caught me off guard. That's really funny. Um, I wonder if part of the reason JJ's not playing this week, if he's not playing, is because this would be a tough game to make a direct comparison between the
Yeah, sure would.
two. Bills, Steelers. Can we stop thinking about the Steelers once Brandon Cooks gets 8 catches for 119 yards?
That would be insane. This is a little bit of a prove it game for the Bills after dropping it to the Texans too. It's like,
It's true.
okay, can you show us that you're a real? This is the third game we've lost where I'm like, what? So we'll see.
Yeah.
Broncos at Commanders. Boy, I wish they had Jaden Daniels for this primetime matchup.
Um. Yeah, that is a good point. That game's gonna
To the
stink.
death.
Well, okay. Giants, Patriots. In the playoff picture, it's typically wise to root for the AFC over the NFC, but with the Giants effectively eliminated, I would love for them to beat the Patriots and make me feel better about the Lions' overtime win.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. I will say we must shout out the Manning cast Monday night game here. Eli
Ooh.
Manning, Giants, Patriots. I assume that is part of the appeal for why this became a Monday night game. So I can't have seen the Giants preseason roster and been like, now this will be an excellent primetime game right here. But now it's worse because they're all injured. So we'll see.
I will say I know they've had Bill Belichick on the Manning cast before. This would be a great week to bring him back if his soul has not already, you know, absconded and he's not an automaton
This
running
feels
North
like
Carolina into the ground.
a Gronk week, a Tom Brady week.
Yeah.
Feels like, yeah, somebody from the other side of that. Even like
Get a skill
Devin
position guy
Hester,
that played with Eli, get like a classic.
Victor Cruz.
Yeah, exactly. Some is LT around? Could LT come?
What is LT up to? LT was not there for those Super Bowls, but
I know, but he's like a Giants classic guy.
he
He's
is a
alive.
Giants
He's
classic.
around. Okay.
Oh, I saw a tweet the other day. I don't remember what it was about. But he
Oh,
tweeted something.
he tweeted, "Can't wait to be on the Manning cast this Monday."
Excellent. Yeah, get Plaxico Burress in there. That'll be awesome.
Oh yeah. The Plaques of Life. Let's go.
No one has ever said that.
Uh,
Uh,
now there's one.
okay. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes or so. I'm ready for Jared to take a field goal that's going to end up just in the bottom right of the post, after looking like it's going to go absolutely wide for 90% of the kick.
Well, I've got bad news, Damon.
You never
Um,
found the paper football?
it's behind it. I forgot about it immediately. It's behind cabinetry. If you can buy time, I can go get
It's
the
a
other one.
shame that furniture can't be moved and stuff. Uh,
I'm in a very unclean closet right now.
okay.
Um,
A peek behind the curtain.
yeah. I know it looks like I'm in some sort of lion's secret room in their facility, but
Mm-mm.
I'm actually in a closet.
Can you put on the Derek Barnes jersey and like tackle the camera and that can be the end of the podcast or
Um, that's Oh wait, I've got a workaround. I've got a
okay.
workaround.
We gotta work around perhaps. Jared came to this podcast wholly unprepared.
I have a full size
Oh,
Detroit Lions
Jesus. What-
football, and
how are we
the
gonna do this one?
my goal is to miss.
I
That's the
see.
that's how we do this one.
Um,
Um,
mm. Yeah, I'm like, is there a spot you could kick it to that's like not gonna
here's
ruin
the
it?
real plan: is I'm gonna say that I'm holding it, and then I'm just gonna hit it vertically up and down.
Okay, I see. How do I decide if that kick is good?
If I hit it in such a way that it doesn't stay within the visual field when it comes down, then
I
it's no
see. It
good.
needs to come straight up and straight down, basically.
So like it needs to do
I
a
understand. Right, right,
yes.
right, 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 right. I got it, got it, got it, got it. I'm prepared. You know what we should include in this part is like a hut, right? Like a downset hut. And then I don't know. There's some sort of commentary, like there's the whole the kick is up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we should make the end of the show about 1.5 minutes of a simulated NFL game. That would be
It's what the people are here for. Because if they've made it this far, they'll sit through anything.
that's true. That's true. That is true. Um, okay, making sure there's nothing so valuable that this could go horribly wrong. I can figure it
Okay,
out.
excellent.
Yep. All right. I'm in position. I've got the snap here.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Like, subscribe. You gotta put the posts up for me here.
Yes, the post
Now I
still
know where to aim.
exists.
Thank God.
But
I was lost
you're
before.
you're so
All right.
right.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Kick's going up.
Oh my goodness, that kick was way off to the side. It is no good.